It's Flat Earth Friday. You're joined by the IronRealmMedia crew. Walt Flat Earth Head, John Sweary G, Rob _Freddy, Adam, who is at Larchero Red. I am your host, Josh Corey, and we welcome you back another week. Thanks for joining us. How's everybody doing?
Doing good, sir. How are you today?
My canned answer is better than I deserve.
Indeed. It's been a hectic week for all of us. I know that. We've had quite a lot of excitement, and it's been just a crazy week all around. Between the revelations and all the things going on in the news, quite a crazy week. False flags, people dying, lots of stuff going on. How are you guys doing there across the pond?
They're muted.
Well, then
John,
I guess they're doing fine then.
I hate those pregnant pauses.
And how are you, Rob, sir? We're glad to have you back with us early in the show. You've been a little late these last few weeks due to commitments, but we certainly are glad to have you back early in the mix. So apparently you and I are the only ones here there. How are you doing today, other than your canned answer, sir?
Well, I'm well rested. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm fully caffeinated, so I'm ready to roll.
Heck yeah.
I'm here. I'm just listening to you lot.
There he is. There's that British dude. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm very quiet today. I had a interesting week. Yeah, we had a very interesting interview on the Tuesday, and since then I've been mucking around with video editors. So that's the excitement of my week.
Yeah, those video editors are a handful. I've been playing with those myself lately this week.
Yes, and I am here.
There's the
Someone muted me. I don't know who it was. Hello, everybody.
It was me.
Josh has got
Well, you
new
had to
toys.
unmute me, didn't you?
He's
You're
got
naughty.
new toys this week.
Yes, we do have new toys. We're learning. So as we grow, you will grow with us. You will suffer the growing pains as we suffer them.
Well, we even managed
Welcome,
to
James.
get together. Oh, hello, James. We managed to get together on Skype, didn't we? And fix our video broadcasting, audio, technical problems. So
we might even sound better next week. So look forward to that, guys. We will always working to improve this for you. Always.
How you doing,
Hello,
James?
everyone.
Hey, James.
Hey, guys. Yeah.
Welcome.
We got a great show.
I might add, I have done nothing for the Flat Earth this week. I've been busy. One guy at our work didn't show up this week, so I've been running around. So I've.
There you go. Well, we know you have a famous work troll that stays on you, so hopefully it hasn't been too bad being stuck at the office with him. Looks like he's having some audio trouble.
I think he dropped off.
Well, I mean, when you're hanging on at the bottom of a ball for dear life with your toes, your head swinging around, I mean, what else would happen?
James,
and
I
how
know
are you
you've had a crap
this
week, James, but hopefully we'll cheer you up tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be an awesome show.
I am very optimistic. I think what we have to share this week is incredible. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to talk about it and get some discussion from our fans going. See if we can get something further it a bit, because it's a doozy.
Certainly
it is indeed.
We've got fans, have we? Or is that just the fans going behind Walt?
Well,
it could be.
I'm a big fan.
I'm always a big fan.
Walt, I believe you are now muted. I think you got a tricky mute button. It seems to kind of come and go at will, just not your will.
No, I knew I had a fan issue I was trying to adjust. So carry on, sir.
I couldn't hear a fan, by the way.
You are. Then I won't be adjusting.
Adam dropped off the face of the flat Earth since
he may be on the other side under that plate
on air. Bloody typical. The only one who had any content. He said, "Sod this, I'm going to start my own live stream."
There you go.
What did he want to discuss? I can't remember
now. I don't know. He had a list.
There he goes.
He's fun. I bet you he and Rob both got booted.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we just started the show, so I mean, of course we're going to start getting booted out by Google.
So I know we had that interesting video that came out with the accelerometer in a smartphone. Yet another, what seems to be a decent proof that we are in fact on a stationary plane, or at least a flat level plane.
That sounds fascinating. Who put that one out, John?
Oh, loads of people have mirrored it. I know Globebusters mirrored it and a few others. I don't know who the originator was. But it was very... Oh, hold on. Give me a while. I'll remember it.
No, it sounds like something we need to talk about.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Very technical. I mean, it's an in-depth video, I understand why he has to do that. Say again?
I mean, I know I said, yeah, it was a little technical. I mean, I know there's an accelerometer, in there. I just never have really understood its working. So you may know more about that, sir, being the gyroscope guy you are.
Well, my understanding of it is it's a very, very small device, and it's about 65 cents to buy, and it's made up of probably several, what are they made of? Silicon strands, like silicon springs. And when you get your phone, it's configurated in the factory, obviously, and then it's recommended probably in the instructions that when you get it, you are to tell it which way is up and down. So with most things, these things, I mean, I've got a phone that does this as well, and you've got to sit it on a horizontal surface and turn it slowly 360 degrees and that sort of thing. And then it knows, it's got its frame of reference, it knows which way is up and down. It's like caging a gyro in a plane, in an aeroplane on the runway, so that it is your artificial horizon is level with the actual horizon. It's called caging. And so basically if you don't change the default on your phone, say it came from Taiwan or something, and you receive your phone in the UK and you open it up and you don't change its up and downness, I think you'll find that it's pretty bang on, showing up and up from down. So it's also something you can configure. Say if you're flying to Australia or something, you could configure it on the runway to know which way is up and down, and then turn it off, and then fly to Australia, and then turn it back on again, and it will still tell you which way is up and down. But what the technical stuff at the start of the video was all about doing was removing any reference to gravity, because all the reference to gravity in the software has been removed because it screws around with it too much. So that was my take on it anyway. I could be wrong. I probably need to watch it again, but I think quite a very interesting video. Anyone else see it?
No, I didn't. Now, what you said when you set yours flat to calibrate it, your phone?
I don't have a phone.
Oh, I thought that's what you said. No,
I've got a really, really old phone. It's about 15 years old. It's a Nokia, one of these ones that's covered in rubber, and it's got a. Because
the newer one I have, you have
compass.
to like wave it around in the air when you're doing anything that involves the compass. Like if I'm using the compass, or if I'm using the little stellarium view, sky view to look at the constellations, anything that involves actual looking in a direction specifically, then it makes you like wave it certain directions in the air. But I've never had to lay it flat. I just wondered maybe there's something I need to do to make it work better.
No, that's probably...
Someone's going to have to explain all that to me, because I don't understand.
That's what we're all trying to work out, right?
Because it's the phone is a man-made object, and putting it to me, I didn't get the video.
It only understands.
I didn't get it, so someone's going to have to explain it. Yeah.
It only understands. It takes everything from its frame of reference from when it's first told what is up and down, but it has to be told what's up and down. It's called local gravity. All right, and I mean, I'm talking about this. If anyone knows any more than me, then speak up, because I don't even have a smartphone. So, yep, all yours, Adam.
I could probably add a bit. It's the name is the biggest indicator of what it does. It's an accelerometer, so it measures movement. It doesn't necessarily measure anything static. What it certainly doesn't do is measure gravity, and I think that's what as John alluded to, the technical info early on, and I'm just chewing over that a little bit, but I kind of get it a little bit. I think it's just the weight of the fine silicon hair in terms of an orientation.
I know that we're living on a flat, stationary Earth, but when you talk to people and you say, look at this proof, they say, no, that's because the phone is relative to the Earth and it's moving with us and gravity is holding it. It's just the same old argument. So it's not another for someone. Well, I don't get it anyway. But
right,
that's the way I see it. Just say it's relative. The phone is moving with our Velcro atmosphere, and it's moving it. It doesn't know it's moving.
They say the same about
relative
gyroscopes, though, Rob.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's I know that. John.
Yeah, but it's a classic sign.
I can see. But the gyro has something that you spin up. You can see it, and I understand why a gyro does what it does. It's just how fast it spins, the way it spins. The forces are moving in all different directions all at one time. That's why it does what it does.
Well, anyone that comes in and says you don't know enough about gravity, you don't know anything about gravity, then they're just highlighting the fact that they don't know anything about gyroscopes. So, the same with the accelerometer in the phone. If they're still claiming gravity, it's just an easy fallback. It's just a gravity. They might as well just say magic. I mean,
that's why I didn't take it as the proof, like the be all end all of the proof. I love gyros.
Yeah, I prefer a mechanical gyro any day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no programming, there's no software, there's no third-party intermediary, there's nothing, it's just a spinning hunk of metal, well-balanced and precision. Totally agree.
Yeah, Don't get me wrong, it's a well-thought-out video, it's probably right, but to a baller, it's just relativity and gravity, and it's just, I
think my point is to any baller, to any baller, any flat Earth video, proof, evidence, books, films, you name it, doesn't matter. Show them with their empirical senses, doesn't matter. To a diehard baller, you're not going to convince them that they're not on a spinning ball in space. These are conclusions I'm coming to quite rapidly in the last month or so. I don't want to talk to ballers. I want to talk to people who can actually question their reality and demand proof.
Now, I've seen them use that accelerometer with a paid theodolite app for people's phone, showing that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level and showing all sorts of crazy things. So these ballers are really trying to use this accelerometer against the flat Earth. I've seen for at least the past few months.
Yeah, they're hoiking them out of PlayStations and things like this, and building their own little memes, gyro things. But they're missing the point, is that it still has to go through a software. Your PlayStation has a little app on it that shows you the rotation of the Earth. Well, of course it bloody does. I mean, how difficult is that? but not in real life. If you use a real gyroscope, it sure as hell doesn't.
And that's exactly what I mean, John. It's a man. I shouldn't say man-made. It's a technical, computerized, where gyros are mechanical. You can't fool them.
It's software based, which is why
that's the word I was looking for.
Bob on Globebusters wants to remove the IronRealm system, which is the claimed system that compensates for the spin and the rotation and the curve of the Earth. So he wants to remove that unit so that the gyroscope, the ring laser gyroscope, just outputs what it should, basically, which is nothing, totally stationary. Should be interesting.
I wonder how easy that. No, I was just going to say. I wonder how easily that's removed without really tampering with the gyroscope itself.
I bought a gyro from an RAF plane, and it's in bits out the back in the other room. I couldn't even get a power supply that would fire this thing up. It was something like 36 volt, 6-phase, 3-phase, something like that. I had no idea. So I decided to find out what was inside it instead. But yeah, I have no idea. Apparently he's enlisted, an expert, which that's going to raise a flag already, isn't it? I mean, who is the expert? And what's to say he's not just going to route it through? I don't know. But if I don't understand, every inch of the software, then I can't guarantee what it's putting out is real or correct or accurate. Whereas you can't muck with a gyroscope.
This is the point I think the video is making, is that it is, from what I'm understanding, similar. It's not a software function that we're looking at. It is a function of what you've got there is basically a crystalline capacitor, a piezoelectric capacitor, which is measuring infinite movements. So when it's at rest, it doesn't work, which is what the Globebusters and the video is saying. But it's measuring very, very, very small movements as they're applied to the crystalline structure, and that makes changes in the electric resistance of that structure, which measures very, 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 very accurately. Yeah. And what they're saying is it's that solid structure, that mechanical structure, which can't be compromised from what is zero. Now, the only zero you can give this thing is by free fall. And that means no forces are acting on it other than gravity. And the only thing it measures, if gravity does exist, is zero. So that's the point I think they're making. But it is a mechanical thing, John. That's the thing that's interested me. It's not a software measurement issue, because it's about the factory reset, which is mechanical. The stuff that's measuring it is software, but the factory reset of where you define zero and what's level is mechanical at the point you define it.
Yeah, I mean, it's mechanical, but then it's interpreted through software. So wasn't there a part in that video that they were discussing, with developers and things who were trying to use this software in developing, that they had to admit that they removed the variable of gravity completely, because it screwed the whole thing up. It didn't work. That's what
as far as I understand it, yeah, it's not included in anything because it's not relevant. It's an accelerometer, more importantly. So if you think of it as a big spring with a weight on the end, dangling, and it's either nearer or off as it varies off the center as you move it, it's that they're measuring. And I think what they're saying is that gravity doesn't necessarily apply in its motion, because at that point where you call it zero, where it's static, there will be a slight bend. Even through an electromagnetic universe, there's still going to be a slight pull of stuff to down. Yeah, as there is. We observe that. Yeah. So that then becomes zero. Now, what they're saying is that's a measurement across those things that then when you translate it to another part of the world, those measurements won't be the same. That's where I'm struggling in understanding how it's.
But the point is,
how
is
a
that when
baller
they,
will. And I think that's the point Rob's making. Is ballers will use that as that's gravity corrects it.
but the point being is that when anyone does these flights or whatever, or when you open your iPhone or whatever phone straight from Taiwan, or you've just flown to Australia, you fire the thing up again and it knows exactly which way is down. Doesn't need recalibrating because there is no need to recalibrate it, even though the manual will say, you've got to recalibrate it first thing you do, because you've got to tell it what's up and down. But I think that's what they're sort of showing, is that just like a gyroscope.
You don't have to.
Just like a gyroscope, if you fly a plane from London to Australia, your gyroscope should be completely out of kilter, but it's not, and it never is, because you're not flying around a ball.
I heard a story once, guys. I think it was Mark Sargent who actually did the video of the airline crew whose ACU broke mid-flight or in between stops, and they couldn't get the part to them in time. So they ended up just flying just fine without the digital gyroscope. Nothing happened. Everything stayed level. It was
that was the Ederoo system I was talking about, that sits between the ring laser gyro and the computer screen or whatever. And it broke, and they couldn't get one out to him. So it was a 6-hour flight or whatever, and it was over land. So and he was a senior airline captain. And so he flew the route and was told to, call in every 15 minutes to get corrections for his drift. And every time they called in over 6 hours, there was no correction needed. And that got his head scratching. And he tried tracing down, who made the Ederoo system, and it was Honeywell. And then he got in touch with Honeywell, and then they said they don't make it. It's subcontracted to a NASA company, and no one from there would talk to him or ever return his calls or anything like that. And so there's only one company in the world that makes these things, just like there's only one company in the world that makes the windows for every plane in the world.
Think about that for a moment, everybody. There is only one manufacturer in the entire world that makes this part. Now, the world I sure know in America and the rest of the world, it's all about, let's go eat. Let's open as many shops as we can. Let's start competition. Let's bid on this. Let's put these guys out of business. Let's get to the top of this segment. Think about that. One company in the entire world.
Talk about a monopolization.
And think about the products they're making. They're making the windows for aeroplanes. Okay, can't think why. And they're making, one company is making the system that sits between whatever that is meant to compensate for the curvature and the spin of the Earth. Interesting.
Sounds like some experts in collusion, if you ask me.
Sure does.
Indeed it does, sir.
Walt, how are you? What's going on in your neck of the woods this week?
Oh, just trying to keep up with the crazy world around us. I mean, there's been so much going on this week. One of my favorite artists passed this week, Chris Cornell of the band Soundgarden, died apparently from a suicide just hours after a phenomenal performance with the reunited band Soundgarden. So it's quite unusual. He was tweeting about being happy about being there in Motor City.
How old was he?
Detroit. 52.
Holy
not
Jesus.
that old. Yeah, man.
Didn't realize he was that old, though. I would have guessed he was younger.
I know he was.
They've been around a while.
Yeah, they've been a while, man. Been around a while. I first
How
heard
did
about them, like late.
How did he commit suicide?
from what I'm reading here, it would seem that from his wife, he hung up in the middle of a conversation with his wife. A few hours after the concert, she said he seemed groggy and his words were slurred, that he had told her he had taken an extra dose of Ativan, which he was using to treat anxiety. Bodyguard was called, forced his way into the room, and found him in the bathroom with, quote, something tied around his neck. He was pronounced dead at 1:30 a.m. on May 18th. So, again, a wonderful drug endorsed by our wonderful government, killing yet another wonderful person.
Thanks, FDA.
And they're still investigating. Toxicology reports are still coming out, but definitely it's been reported by Ativan users and the actual site themselves that it has the potential to cause paranoia or suicidal thoughts. So take that into thought when you start thinking about giving that to your children, which it is actually given to, believe it or not.
Well, isn't it funny how often these antidepressant drugs are, you read the insert or whatever, side effects, and they so often they increase suicide feelings of suicide, anxiety. I mean, they potentially exacerbate what they're meant to treat so often.
Josh, apparently, to add to the mystery a little bit, actually, he said a cryptic goodbye at the farewell concert. Have you guys heard that? He said some kind of.
Just read that.
Yeah, I did see that headline.
Could I add a bit of pharmacology to that, if you want to?
Please do.
So I just looked it up because you're using an American brand name. Is it Ativan?
That is it, sir.
Okay. So it's Ativan, which is the drug is lorazepam. So
Yes.
it's from the family of benzodiazepines.
Funny how often
From knowledge of the,
antidepressant
I would
drugs,
imagine, from the anxiolytic family as opposed to the hypnotic side. So more for calming you down and relaxing you than putting you to sleep. So like you're saying, and as John alluded to, I would imagine the reason you take it creates more problems in that region. And whilst benzodiazepines are very, very effective in very short-term one-off uses, long-term exposure will always lead to thought changes, which can lead to psychoses such as anxiety and even worse.
Wow. Thanks for that. Wow. That's crazy stuff, but this is the stuff that this is the system. This is the program. This is what we inject our kids with. This is what we take as adults. This is what we just follow along with blindly. And it's nice to know that we have you to explain half of this mess to us.
I don't want to scare people, James, there, because I mean the simple analogy is this drug is from a very similar family to diazepam, which probably people are more familiar with, which would be perfectly safe for you to take a one-off dose before your flight or before a dental procedure to calm you down, so you're safe to have whatever and be used in that way. The issue I would suggest to you here is unregulated prescribing, which allows somebody access to excessive amounts of a drug, allowing them to form a habit with it, which then allows a change in mental behavior, which then allows a leading on to this. It's not necessarily drugs are evil. I think we have to look at the system and how some people who are very rich have a massive free access to drugs that the rest of us would be criminalized for getting through the only means we could get them through.
Adam, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you ever prescribe tramadol for a cough?
It would be a highly ineffective way of stopping a cough. It would suppress the cough reflex, but you'd be a lot more sedated than necessary to achieve it.
I only say that because the last time I went to the doctor, which was probably 8-10 years ago, something along those lines, that's exactly what I got. I went in there with a chesty cough and all the rest of it, and I got 100 tramadol in return. I've still got 90 of them.
It's not a drug I hold in high regard. It's a synthetic opiate it's
hideous.
Yeah, it's designed for pain relief. It's certainly not designed
backache, maybe, but not a cough.
Well, no, I don't. I'm not sure. I'd go and see a solicitor on that one.
Hey, Adam, I've got a question for you as well. Just listening to you there. When I go to a pharmacist, I want a prescription filled. I hand over my script, and the pharmacist goes back there and mucks around for a little while. What are they actually? Surely you've got the drugs there all ready to go. So what are they doing for the 20 minutes that I'm sitting there waiting?
Well, I've got blood glucose levels that need tolerating. Sometimes I've got to have a sandwich.
You know what I mean? Surely they're all boxed up.
It depends.
So what do you do back there for 20 minutes?
Twitter.
It generally depends. Well, it depends where you are. I've never kept any person waiting 20 minutes. If you walk in with a prescription to me, you don't wait more than a minute to 2 or 3 minutes. But if there is a delay, it's because I'm looking at what they've just given you, and I don't know everything. Sometimes I've got to look it up in case there's something I need to warn you about. You could shit yourself tomorrow morning. Just be aware of it. Wear big pants, Rob. I don't know what I need to tell you necessarily.
Yeah, no, that's how it's always been for me.
There's always going to be a delay.
It's always 10, 15, 20 minutes. Yeah.
But the simple thing I'd say to that respectfully is, if you go into a Chinese takeaway or a McDonald's or whatever, why does it take so long sometimes? Because there's other people in front of you. Is the other thing?
No, not all the time. Not all the time. No, I'm just wondering. Because I thought the bottle would be there. The bottle of pills would be there on the shelf. You walk behind you. There's a bottle.
Okay, I'll go one more thing.
The bottle of 30 pills there. They give it to you.
Yeah, but you got to put it.
I did work for Walmart, the UK equivalent of Walmart, 15 or 20 years ago, maybe. Okay, and certainly the company that wear big shoes in the UK, the mainstream chemist. Thanks, John. They have a policy where you have to wait 20 minutes. And the reason you have to wait 20 minutes is because it means you have to walk around the store and browse and possibly purchase something. So there is,
of course, never even thought of that. That's exactly what
none of my customers take that. But that is something that we were encouraged to do. We were always, when I worked for Asda, to encourage people to say, why don't you come back in 10, 15 minutes, it'll be ready, have a look around the store. So there's a merchandising aspect to it in the big stores. But you're independent chemist.
So obvious now that you think about it, but it's so hidden. Son of a...
Yeah. Yes.
But sometimes
I never wait in their shop anyway. I always walk up. If I'm going to go spend some money, it'll be down the bakery or or something like that. I'll go down and sit and wait 20 minutes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the smart guy owns the whole plaza. That's what he does.
Adam, do you know Tony Pantelleresco on YouTube? A herbologist or herbalist? No?
No.
Okay, I'll send you a link.
I'll have to now, won't I? Yeah, please,
mate.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, for all my main pharmacy, my specialist was in drugs from natural resources, so I did.
I got a feeling you'll like this. I've got a feeling you'll like this guy. He has no boundaries when it comes to experimenting on himself and
some boundaries are good.
And this guy's got none. So this is why I imagine you'd quite
I look forward to it.
Yeah, he's quite over the top, but I've could glean some great stuff from him. But I'll send you a link.
Hey Rob, did you hear about that false flag in New York with the car attack? Are you there?
Guess not.
Oh. So apparently there was another car attack, which has been happening a lot in Europe. And I think it was one of the maybe first or third ones in America. and this one was right in Times Square. And at first, everyone jumped on him, thinking it was like an immigrant and Mexican and whatever. And then it comes out that he's ex-military, like ex-ops, trained. I think he was carrying a gun, so it just goes to show you how they're introducing it slowly. That's just part of the future, I guess. We've just got to be smarter than it.
Yep. All this fake news, you need your fake news filter.
Yeah, you got to outfake the fake news.
Well, they're already doing damage control. There was a photograph as the guy was running from the car, like seconds after he had plowed over these people, allegedly. He's running from the car. There's a guy to the right of the photograph who is later the police officer who's got him up against the wall in plain clothes with an earpiece, who's obviously in charge of the situation. He just happened to be standing in the crowd as this guy ran over these people. He was already there. The next time you see the same picture, he's been cropped out of it.
Wow. The handlers are always there, aren't they? That's a good clue to everybody listening. Look in the crowds. Don't look at the focus. Look outside.
As a tie-in, another thing I noticed, it happened last week, this announcement, but I kind of got sidetracked when you mentioned the false flag there. Another lovely thing our government allows to happen that we're all aware of, and some people believe and some people don't. The fact that people get vaccinated, I don't know what your take is on this, Adam. We've never actually talked about it. But in my research, pretty much if you took a glass full of those ingredients and gave it to your child, you'd be arrested for trying to kill your child. But a doctor sticks that in a needle and injects it into your child, it's okay. That's what I've seen. But incidentally, this year, as of the fiscal year 2017, our government has compensated $142 million in damages for vaccine injuries. So if they're safe for everyone, why has this year alone $142 million already been paid out by our government in vaccine injuries? It's some kind of mixed message they're sending to me.
The important thing, Walt, is that it's the US government that's paid out that money. Okay, because under US and I think most international law, vaccines are not suable to the producer of the vaccines. You have to actually sue the government that issues the country that issues them.
That's correct.
There's no liability held with the manufacturer. So that's the first point, mate. There.
I'd expect that figure to go skyrocketing in the next decade too.
Yeah, they're already saying it'll be $220 million before the fiscal year ends in September of this year.
But there's nothing to see here.
This year alone.
It's fine.
No, nothing to see here. Move on. Everything's fine.
Yep.
Keep looking at your phone. Keep looking at the phone.
There's a wonderful world we live in, eh?
Been a lot of measles outbreaks around here too.
Really?
I've noticed. Yes, amongst the vaccinated. Go figure.
See, that's what always kills me is all these mothers that are up in arms. Because I had my child's paperwork in order. He did not get vaccinated at school. We fought every school he went to, and all these mothers would, raise it up all in arms at the PTA meetings. Well, your child's endangering my child. Well, if your child is vaccinated, aren't they safe from my child's diseases that he's riddled with? I mean, you should be fine. Why is my child's not being vaccinated endangering your child? Oh, it's herd. It's herd mentality. We all have to have it for it to work. You want to explain that one to me, Adam?
Yeah, there's a less than technical phrase there, and bullshit is the phrase there. Frankly, it is a complete nonsense to suggest that if you have a vaccine and somebody doesn't, that you are less, more vulnerable. There isn't. If you've had a vaccine and 95% of the population haven't, and other strains can breed in that population, then there's a chance you could get another strain. But if you're the 1-2%, that's just a nonsense. It's a fallacy. It's a bullying method. And
exactly.
It's.
Isn't it funny
I
how they
would like
call
to
it
say one
herd?
thing. Yeah.
herd mentality, just
Mhm.
giving us a nod and a wink that we are cattle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. What were you saying?
There's before you get into stuff and asking it, there's not a lot I can say on vaccines. You can read it yourselves. I'm a bit like a Muslim pharmacist with the morning after pill here. You know, I'll give it out on prescription. I wouldn't necessarily do an interview myself and give it out. I'd maybe redirect somebody. And within my practice, you know, some of us are conscientious, and if I get off prescription, by law, I've got to dispense that. Do I engage in what you're seeing in the supermarkets? And this is something that makes me sick, and something that's happening I've seen in America massively, where there's a £25 gift card if you get a flu vaccine at Walmart. Do I even... Pharmacies in the UK over the past 5 years have earned a hell of a lot of money offering flu vaccinations in the store. I can happily say I've done zero. I don't offer that service.
I didn't know you were Muslim, Adam.
No, it's something I have to teach. Right, you know, there are certain issues in terms of the morning after pill where it's considered abortive. I don't necessarily do there, to be perfectly honest, because I understand how it works. So I don't, you know, but that's what I'm saying is there's sometimes in a profession there's a matter of conscience, where even with your matter of conscience, you have to work within a certain remit and do certain things. However, do you then decide to profit out of that and exploit that? And in my opinion, naivety of the general populace to earn yourself money. And I've never engaged in that, and I refuse to. And I actively raise the point with other pharmacists.
Tempting to most, though, isn't it? Who haven't done their research.
A lot of people
fully.
make a lot of money out of it, mate. You know, a lot of people make a lot of money out of the flu vaccination, and it's wrong.
Well, including doctors, GPs. They're incentivized as well, aren't they?
I wouldn't say they're incentivized; they're penalized if they don't. Is probably the bigger point.
Exercise.
There's a big difference there.
Cool. That's awesome, Adam. What do you guys think about Joe Rogan? There's another video that came out this week of another intelligent, apparent, authoritarian guy.
Lawrence Kraft.
Yeah, and he comes on. This isn't the founder. This is another nerd. And first off, Adam, it made me think of you, because I was like,
"There's not wrong with the nerd."
No, there isn't. But it got me thinking, like, maybe Joe Rogan's a little smarter than we're thinking now. Maybe his plan was the slow anti-reveal the whole time, because if you watch this new one, it's interesting. I want your feel on it, brother, and I wanted to hear if anybody else had seen the new one, and in general what they're thinking about what Joe Rogan's doing and all the attention.
If he's not talking flat Earth, then I won't give him the time of day. Basically, he's irrelevant. But I appreciate your opinion. I have strict black and white rules. You know, it's like if the BBC are found kiddie fiddling and reporting 9/11 20 minutes before it goes down, am I going to carry on watching the BBC? Never. Full stop.
Josh, is he playing a game? Is he playing the DJ game? Is that what he's doing?
I can't imagine. I have little to no respect for Joe Rogan. I've never liked him. I've always thought he was a bit of a D-bag myself.
Interesting.
I don't think he has it in him to do the double rub like that. I think he's just going to toe whatever party line. I suspect he's got people to answer to, whether it's producers or backers for his show or networks. I don't.
Is it true?
Whatever.
Is it true that he had a crappy little show, and then suddenly he had turned, and then he had the good show? Is that how it went down?
I can give you a little bit more. Apparently, I'm the only one who was a fan of Rogan at one point in life.
too.
Oh, were you? Okay. Well, I found him as a comedian. I've always been into young comedians, so I've always sought out the new upcoming, crazy, edgy guy. And I found him before anyone knew who he was. He was before he was even on news radio, which was a show he was on in the 90s on TV with like Dave Foley and other people. News radio, he was on there, and he was famous for that for the longest time. And then suddenly Fear Factor was his huge, huge hit. I don't know if you guys caught that in the UK, but it was a show where people were basically on there being dared to do just crazy things, having their head in a tank full of scorpions and just crazy stuff. And he was the host of that show. And then he kind of went away for a little while, and then he started this whole podcasty thing. And that's when I started kind of like losing touch with his comedy and what he was doing, because he would still do comedy specials occasionally that I would catch and enjoy somewhat, but not as much as his early days. And then he came out with this whole moon hoax stuff on his podcast. And at that point, I was still a NASA guy. So I kind of went like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I was still a NASA fanboy when he started talking about that stuff before I found Flat Earth. Then as I found more Flat Earth stuff, he started becoming the guy who suddenly is getting this new show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything. And as that's about to happen, Neil Tyson comes on his podcast. He kisses his ass. Oh my God, he is sucking up to this guy so much. Eddie calls him out because he's saying, oh, I was retarded for being a moon hoaxer. I thought the moon was a hoax. That was retarded thinking for even thinking that. Just bowing down to Lord Neil. You know, it was so sad watching this, especially for a guy I used to respect. And his buddy Eddie Bravo was calling him out. Hey, man, you used to say the moon landing was fake, and just he's here, and you're going to say this is real now? And so even Eddie was calling him out back then before he was a flat earther. So it's been an interesting little ride for me with Joe Rogan. And then the whole MMA thing, I don't even know about the fighting part. I don't watch that, so I know he's into it, and he's part of that thing, just like Eddie is. But you may know more about that, James.
How many people do you know that would have believed the moon landings were a hoax and then turned full circle to their real?
No.
Yeah.
Come on, that's ridiculous. He did that just to get his show and to kiss Neil's butt and all that. You know that.
Yeah, that was a cringe-worthy interview, wasn't it? When he was on there with
so sad.
He was like he was starstruck or something. I don't know. It was piss poor, I thought.
He's living with it now, man. That's his thing, man. He'll never live it down.
But how many people are watching his what is it? Is it a YouTube show or is it a cable show? Or
that's where I catch it on the YouTube recast. I don't know where it actually exists in the pod world. I don't know how that. I just catch it on YouTube when I would see it.
It sounds like it'd probably be one of those internet radio things, like a Sirius radio. I don't think they do XM radio anymore, but
right, like a subscription-based type thing, probably.
Yep, that's what it is, as well as the free stuff.
So I can understand how to get a guest on and get pretty excited, and just have your whole attitude switch in just a matter of moments with the guest. That's we had that happen relatively recently.
Yeah, Josh. What have we got coming up? Do you want to? Can you sum it up, if you can?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I can sum it up. There's way too much here. Just try to get it in a nice little soundbite as to what this is. The guest we were supposed to have on last week, John Bramha, that didn't show up. Said he was going to be here, contacted us early last week. We had it scheduled and had it planned, and it was a no-show. So we were a little more skeptical than we were to begin with. Turns out he'd gotten hacked. He had to get some new proxies in place. So once we finally got that done and we got him, we were able to interview him and get it recorded. We couldn't do it live. The timing didn't work out, but we did get a good interview. So this is just so insane. So John Bramha is trying to organize a trip into Antarctica. This is so crazy. He's not giving us a whole lot of information about him. So we're trying to still stay skeptical because we can't vet so much of this information. But the way he says it is he is a member of 120 people. The control group is what he referred to it as. For the people that are coming down to the South Pole, their job is to turn them away, to make sure they don't get down there. Whether you would call that the Antarctic Defense Force or some sort of UN security force, I don't know. He's not divulging any of this. He's trying to keep his head down and get this expedition funded and underway before anybody really catches on. And that's probably going to be a bit of a trick. So he says out of this 120 control group, 14 of them, including himself, decided that the truth needs to get out. They're tired of the lies. They're ready for a new world, that was probably a poor choice of words. They are ready for the truth to get out there. They're tired of the control mechanisms that are ruling our society. And they think by getting out the truth of what's really going on in Antarctica, that's going to do it. I don't want to give away too much. I could probably paraphrase the whole damn interview, but that's pointless and nobody wants to hear that when we have his words. So hopefully coming up.
Pretty interesting though, isn't it?
Pretty heady stuff, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean the sort of attitudes we had when he didn't show up compared to, you know, after we'd listened to him. I think anyone listening to this would be skeptical to start with, highly and justifiably skeptical to start with, and I'd probably have more questions than answers after listening to it as well. But what he does say is quite interesting. I found
there were two answers to two questions that I asked John that have messed with my head, and I can't stop thinking about. I'll leave people to decide what they were, but you know, as a skeptic or as a honest analyst, I approached it very open-minded, but possibly a little skeptical because of the couple of disappointments. But yeah, the guy.
How could he take it? How could he expect us any other way? I mean, he came to us. We didn't seek him out. He came to us because he was sick of trolls and shills, he said. And you know, to be fair, how would we, as you know, this collective of group IRM group, how would we take this? And you know, he obviously knew straight off the bat that we weren't going to accept it verbatim as it was presented to us. But so fair play to him. He came on. We asked him a few questions. He's agreed to come on again, I think. And we will drill down and down. If this is real, then we will find that out. We will find out.
Yeah, there was just so many things. And it was almost to the point that it could raise eyebrows because James put it so eloquently. He was tickling the balls of everybody here. I mean, it's like he knew exactly what answers we were hoping that he would give and sort of highlighted what everybody wanted. Just sort of, you know, stroked their ego a little bit and tickled their imagination with what might actually be the truth. But again, we can't vet any of this information. So as far as we know, this is
it could be, or it could be the best thing we've heard yet, which so far it seems to be an amazing announcement for sure.
Yeah, it could just be NEGAT orcs out there trying to have one over on us. But I don't know.
We've got over an hour worth of interview coming up later. So yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah, and in that hour, as Josh alludes to, there are points where I think we all get a little excited as we're all hearing things that we all want to hear, frankly. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed.
And there's nothing wrong with that because we were hearing them at the time with a man that's talking convincingly. And there's a lot of stuff, from my opinion, that's solidified his position and weakened any skepticism I have. It's not saying I'm going to sell a kidney to get a ticket now,
Right.
but, you know.
Right. Yes, sir. But it definitely it lended some credibility, the things that he was able to either confirm or deny, I guess. I don't know. Again, we can only go by what we heard in the interview, but hopefully when you guys hear it, you will be as blown away as we were and as skeptical as we were. Definitely use discernment going forward listening.
Oh, I'm excited. This is going to be great. Stay tuned, folks. Grab a seat. We're going to probably play a little break here and come back with some amazing interview, and then we'll talk about it.
Is there anything anybody in particular wanted to go to break with?
Yeah, I'll just say sorry to Kai because I just
Some
blocked
non-copyright
him
music.
by mistake. I just blocked him by mistake. Sorry, Kai. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Sorry
was
about
stepping
that. I unblocked him. I unblocked him straight away.
All right.
There is something before we, as we're ending now, that I'd just like to. I'd do a little news review for myself, and there is one line that I don't necessarily want to talk about. I'm just happy to just raise it again, and I'm happy to say, I'll say happy. It's not the right phrase, but it's good to see that the Hampstead case is starting, even if it's old data, the Hampstead case is starting to resurface again. It's starting to be highlighted again. And if anybody's out there that can do a retweet on anything they see on that, please stick it out there. It'd be appreciated. There's a lot of stuff out there that highlighting this case will help in a lot of other cases.
That's generally under the hashtag Hampstead Kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive case. I followed that from day one, and I haven't seen its resurgence, but I am over the moon that is getting to the bubbling up to the surface again, because that whole
I think
situation is it's a case.
There's one bit I'd like to make on that, John. It is a massive case, and it's the case that the world knows, and it's the case that a lot of people that knew about this stuff beforehand weren't relieved to see, but to have the level of evidence that you see from those children put there for the world to currently deny, which is what's going off as we see it. But to see that it is a microcosm of what's going off. There was a BBC show last night called Three Girls that I think's been running. I didn't watch it. I actually caught the last 5 minutes, and at the end there were just city after city across the UK listing where children are being abused. And the thing that needs highlighting is it's very rare that the level of perversion and satanic influence that we see going on with the sexual abuse of children is highlighted, described in such a graphic, detailed way by innocents in a highly convincing way. That is why the Hampstead case is so important, not because it's something that's such a freaky one-off occurrence that we should all know about it, but it's the one time that we actually have some solid evidence that can highlight the mass amount of satanic child abuse that's going across not just the UK, but the world, certainly the Western world.
I think we need to dedicate a section of the show, or even a whole show, to this entire subject.
I second that, and I just like to say, as an actual sexual abuse victim, if anybody's listening and hasn't dealt with this or needs help, message me, message any of us, talk about it.
Yep, absolutely. Well done, James.
Yes.
All right, I think
Thank
we're
you,
coming
sir.
up on the hour there, are we? What is that? Yep, on the hour. So if you guys don't know what's happening, I'm keen to get into this interview.
Time for a break.
Why don't we take a little break? I got 2 minutes and 42 seconds worth of a video from John's YouTube channel so we can play that YouTube video that we didn't want to necessarily play last week.
Nice.
So I've got it queued up. We'll let that go. And that'll be a nice little teaser into for what we segue in when we come back. So that being said, please stick around. We will be back shortly. Take a look at this video and try to keep an open mind. I know as flat earthers, we tend to just want to be as skeptical as possible, but I surely hope that John Bramha is genuine in his desire to share the truth. So that being said, we will be right back.
Antarctic expedition. I'll keep this short and simple. I think there has been enough discussion, debate, and whatnot between the flat earth truthers and, let's generalize, everyone else. I think the only way to end this discussion or debate or the mockery and the constant jokes is to actually mount an expedition to the Antarctic. And it's not impossible. To tell you, I have been there 3 times. I have resources, we have ships, we have people on the inside who are willing to help. And it's not going to cost us a lot. Well, if you are counting it in human money, then yes, maybe if I say it's going to cost $1 million, you're going to think that's a lot of money. But if you think that's just the cost of 10 Tesla Model S cars, and people spend collectively way more than this on personal luxuries. I'm looking for real hardcore truthers to back me up on this project and help me raise these funds. My identity will not be revealed until before we start the expedition. All safety and everything has been taken care of. Now, obviously, if you can contribute $100,000, I would love to give you a seat, a personal seat to the edge on this expedition. I will say this, I'm not going to discuss about this project a lot. Anyone who's backing this, please send me your email address. My contact details are there on the blog. Send me your email address or your contact information, and I will get in touch with you with further details. But let's say this. With this mission, we will put an end to this debate once and for all. So I'm looking for your support and I'm looking for your backing, and I hope to God that we can reveal the truth. May the Yahweh be with you. Thank you.
Wow.
So there it is. I mean, he really doesn't say much in that video. So you can imagine how skeptical we were when our friend Karen connected us. He contacted Karen. Karen sort of put him in touch with us. And so we were laughing, basically. This is pretty much the type of thing we would have expected to see as someone coming up trying to get rich quick off of a bunch of gullible flat earthers. So that was something we were definitely looking out for. I don't know. Anybody else? What were your thoughts on the interview before we get into it?
I think my thoughts alluded to what you said, Josh. Is that
Josh,
echo?
Josh, have you got the Hotmail to YouTube muted?
Yes. Echo's not me.
Well, work your magic and shut everyone up.
Is that better?
Yes.
Strange. It was the break. It changed my whole setup. I've had to go to headphones. I'm on them. I think the only point I'd like to is to reiterate the level of skepticism that we had, and certainly that I had, not necessarily thinking he was a complete con artist, but being able to consider that in some of the questions that we asked and throughout the questioning. It wasn't something, we weren't starstruck, we weren't, as fantastical as the journey sounds and as much as of a bucket list item it is, we were hopefully, I think, fairly objective and tried to answer the questions that a lot of people would have wanted to. Ask the questions that a lot of people would want to.
And I listened to the interview after you had done it. Obviously, I didn't contribute anything to the interview. I wasn't there, but I loved it. I thought everyone did a wonderful job.
I agree. I think we treated him with respect and honesty and natural skepticism, and I think he did a reasonable job in answering the questions that we put to him. So there were some vague answers for sure, and these are needle points that I'd like to get into on future interviews, but as things came across, I think it went extremely well.
Well, I did hear from John just about an hour ago. I just finally saw it. I don't know why I didn't see it earlier. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps changing. It'll go to the Hangouts and all of a sudden it'll switch. It's got to be a bit batty.
Gotta love the software, right? Always trying to catch you
because
out.
I'm sharing my screen. Because you guys need to feed in the Hangouts. There we go. That's better. Got to share too many different screens.
So we're going to break this up halfway through or something and have a discussion and stick the... I don't know.
Personally, I think we should let it kind of play and then talk about it after.
Yeah,
Josh?
I was going to say that too. I think we should let it play because we did interrupt him with a lot of questions during the interview, so let those happen and then we'll further interrupt him after the fact.
If we need to visit segment by segment, we can do that too.
The other thing I was going to say is maybe that if we do play it as a whole, which I think is a good idea, is to really keep an eye on the chat, guys, and see what questions come up there and maybe focus on our perspective at answering some of those questions, because I think that would be quite useful. Because like I said, we tried to focus our questions on what we wanted to ask and what we thought normal people would want to ask. Do you know what I mean? Because
one of your finest hours, bro. Good call.
All right, so then without too much further ado, here's our interview with John Bramha trying to mount an expedition to the Antarctic. And whoops, Google says there was a problem playing this audio file, you son of a gun. All right. Give me just a few seconds.
As always, technical difficulties with the Google software are hindering us, but we will plot ahead and get this done for you guys. If you do have any questions along the way, make sure you throw them in the chat room for us. We will definitely get to them there. And if you follow us on Twitter at IronRealmMedia, we will also take questions there and be looking at those. So if you follow us there and are on Twitter, definitely you can pop them in on that area as well. I'm actually there now trying to send out an announcement for this because I feel this is some of the most important information we've had yet in Flat Earth. It definitely is stuff we've all been researching, each individually and as a collective here on the Iron Realm. We all have our specialties, if you will, our areas that have fascinated us and drawn us to this whole thing. So during this interview with John, we all both found some things out, had some things confirmed, had some other things that we weren't quite expecting to hear at all. Just mind-blowing stuff. Definitely heady stuff. I hope we get the kinks worked out for you here momentarily and are able to get this audio playing for you.
I was actually going to ask you, Walt, because you didn't really tell us in the after show or even during the interview what was really the most kind of fascinating. But I could feel it, man. We were all excited about this. I mean, tell us a bit about what were some of the questions maybe you would have asked, because I know you had a bunch when your kind of place came up.
Well, I hate to. The things I wanted to know are going to spoil some of this that's coming up. Let's just say this. He confirmed some ideas that definitely a lot of people in the Flat Earth community are going to be excited to hear. Those would probably be the infinite plane people. And then others are not going to be so happy. And I'm guessing that's going to be the people who still are either stuck in the whole idea that we're on a disk floating in some infinite void that I don't even know anymore. I don't know. I used to try to figure that part out early in all of this myself and couldn't make any sense of a disk floating in space any more than I could of a ball spinning in space. So infinite plane was an early idea for me, but the confirmation, the proof, just it's hard. If you go back and look at some of Admiral Byrd's information, which I know you've done, James, this week, you've actually gone back and checked out some of his stuff.
I've actually stumbled on a doozy of a find, and I shared it with you last night.
I can't wait. Tease.
I will tease. So let's just say that in doing some research on a completely different subject, Antarctica, as he just led to, I have stumbled upon some information that is honestly almost alike to the newspaper article of Auguste Piccard saying that the Earth looked like a disc with flat, upturned edges. And I am just going to say that it is as equally as impressive as that book. And I will be talking about it next week with a short video.
It was indeed a stunning find, sir. I was just, I was impressed with the find. It was nice to see that. Again, teasing it, but
so I got the audio queued up, so
nice.
We should be ready to go. So that's
excellent.
Look at IronRealmMedia, breaking flat Earth news week after week. The best flat Earth podcast you've never heard of.
Our new tagline. I love it.
Good stuff, Josh.
Actually, so here's introductions.
Yeah, we've been chatting.
Yep.
Right.
That's me.
Hi, John. I'm Walt.
Hey, Walt.
And hi, John. I'm John.
And we're full circle.
All right.
I'll be Savage for the night, shall I? So that we're not distinguished. That's my second name, Savage.
There we go.
That's all right.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks. Finally, I'm sorry for the last few times. Actually ran into some trouble. So that's one of the reasons why this time I've not tweeted out anything publicly.
Wise.
Yes. And then even today I was like, okay, I hope there is no server problem because I am using a couple of new proxies. And so far so good.
Where are you? Are you in New Zealand, or can you tell us, or what?
Yes, I'm in New Zealand right now.
Okay, cool. Good morning.
Right.
So, we weren't quite sure how best to approach this. I mean, we definitely wanted to be critical, but we didn't want to just jump headlong in behind you. So there's even been some debate amongst how to best handle this. And I think James had the best idea, and we're just going to let you talk as much as you're willing to talk. So as much as you want to say, as much as all the backstory, your backstory, the backstory for your project, and then the future for the project, I'd just love to hear you go on for as long as possible, and then we will start with the follow-up questions, because hopefully you're going to knock a bunch of them off.
Because we've got no adverts and we've got plenty of time.
Yep.
Right.
So did we have a question to kick him off with? How did all this come about?
Has everyone checked the recording software? Just double check, make sure we are.
I am
getting
recording
everything before we start talking. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right. So should I start?
Yes, please.
All right. So last 20 years I've been working. Now these are obviously, I can't go into details as far as my position goes. So for the last 2 decades, we've been interacting, and you can say we are part of the team which controls any access to Antarctica. And we've been, although we are trained in a ways where we are always told to keep an open mind internally. It's like a dual-edged system. You can say on one side we are totally hiding everything from the world, whereas internally we are quite aware of what's happening. And initially we are trained in a ways to believe that this is good for everyone, and this kind of information cannot fall into the wrong hands, and there will be upheaval, there will be problems. But then sooner or later, most of us start realizing the truth that this is not what it is. And I try avoiding using words like Illuminati and everything else, but there is definitely control. So that is sort of where internally there's a small group now, and for the last 18 odd months, I can roughly say 18 or 19 odd months, we've been planning we've been following the Flat Earth movement as well. It's really great. A lot of people are doing an amazing job, but at the same time, initially I'll be very honest with you, I did not want to do this because the amount of risk that is involved. So we did think about some of the scenarios, and we thought like the best way to do it would be to actually put people who are at the front of the Flat Earth movement in charge of the information. Not choose a single person, because I think this kind of information cannot be trusted in one person's hand. The initial plan was to get 50 people at least on board. We do have a ship. There are several, again, no details will be shared on that, but there are ships which are able to traverse through the edge, if I can call it the edge again. The reality is way different than what most of the speculations are that I've seen. But I can say, most people are doing a very good job of observing what the truth is, what the reality is, what are the lies that are being told. And there are trigger systems which, thanks to television and mainstream media, which have been put in people's head. Because even when they see the truth in front of them, if you use those trigger words, there will be an automatic knee-jerk reaction where they're going to dispute everything, and then they're going to throw scientific facts and stuff which has been taught to them to discredit. And in fact, I've been noticing there are a lot of trolls, a lot of shields, people within the Flat Earth movement now, who seem to be acting in a very strange way, where they're trying to create doubt, they're trying to throw in some news stories just to make the whole Flat Earth movement look like there is no direction. But I feel the time is now, and this is why we've been pushing. Again, I'll honestly say, this is not something that we're doing for money, but the structure that we're putting in, that needs to be paid for. We knew that Bitcoin would be the perfect way because it's a decentralized system. No government has any control on it. But again, how do we spread the word about it? We try to get in touch with if I can put it in quotes, Flat Earth organization, and you will not believe it, we've not got any sort of support, not even someone replying to us and saying, hey, this sounds like total bullshit, made up stuff. So, that's where we are. We are definitely talking to a few people, but again, like I said, if there is an interest, the interest seems to be to control everything. Like there are a few guys who are like, okay, if I do finance this, I want to be in control of everything. And that's where we are not really happy with it, because we want the information to go to the people. And then, we do know the ramifications of what's going to happen. So I know I'm like going on a tangent right now where it's maybe...
Could I ask you to elaborate just on one point on one you keep using?
Sure.
I know you described a bit and you may not be able to elaborate, and that is the term "we." If maybe, because in terms of credibility, what "we" is really important to me in terms of, is it one person, 10 people, 100 people, a collective? I don't know that. What is "we"?
Yeah, so there are around 14 of us. And I can say 14 of us, including me, within the control organization. The control group is not a very large group, thanks to the technology and everything that we have right now. So you can say about, from a group of roughly about 100, 120, there are 14 of us who I always term as we, and I am the guy who's taking the front stage. There are other people as well who are right here in New Zealand who I meet, off the grid, and we do talk about this in real time. So
that's interesting stuff, John. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said this group or whatever was part of controlling the access to Antarctica. Is that right?
That's
all
right.
The 14. So what happened? One day you just all sort of nudged each other and said, this isn't right. We've got to do something about this. How did it sort of come about that 14 rogues sort of split away from the 120?
Yeah, so it's not it just didn't happen on one single day. It was over a long period of time, because initially you have to be very careful. We are trained not to talk about it. We are trained not to even think about doing something like this, and the stories that we are fed. So it took some time before the group formed, and then we started sharing our ideas, just with a single thought, like, imagine what would happen if this was known. And that's what basically started it. I mean, if we always talk about the legend himself, Admiral Byrd. I think he almost revealed everything before they got to him, and that's the thing they're trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid anyone who will even think about going publicly and speaking about it. So, yeah, I hope that answers that.
Yeah, it does. You said through the edge. I'm now slightly confused. Can you give us the best description you can of what the edge is and what's beyond the edge? Have you been beyond the edge?
Okay, so this is where I try to avoid being too vocal about it, but just to give let me see, the most the idea is what we think about the edge is basically not the end of where we are, and it's a limit. You cannot go beyond that unless you have a special vehicle or a ship with you. And we've tried. There have been a lot of experiments. There are experiments happening even right now. Any new technology, there's a reason why there was a limit on how many drones people can have, they can fly. Obviously, people are trying to break those rules, but let me tell you, it's quite impossible for any sort of a machine to pass the barrier. And to give you another idea is, again, I say we call it the edge because that's the term flat earthers love to use. But for us, it's the boundary that currently we cannot pass but there is definitely more beyond it.
So I've got a quick question there. Your first point before John asked you to elaborate a little was saying that Admiral Byrd's description was the nearest.
Right.
And then you just said that machinery can't penetrate, but didn't he use B-52s? Well, I don't know what type of.
He got lucky.
Old school mechanical aeroplanes.
Yes. Honestly, because I think one of the reasons why he was even able to remotely pass through the barrier for a certain amount of time was because how less technical that time the planes used to be. Nowadays, the planes can basically fly themselves, so it's become very easy to target these kind of things, even from the government perspective, or so they've made sure that even we've made sure that most of our technology will not be able to work because we now know what actually hinders. It's electromagnetic storm after electromagnetic storm.
So the inference I could draw from that is that mechanical machinery is not necessarily affected, but certainly electronic machinery is heavily affected by the border barrier. Yeah.
Yes.
John, James here. I have been thoroughly enjoying what you have said so far. I'm a spiritual man and I follow Jesus. And I was wondering if you had a religion, or if, some of the Israeli or ancient Hebrew cosmologies and ideas about the different realms, if any of that you could elaborate on, if possible.
Right, James. I think that's a great question. I could start off with saying that as a kid, maybe I was not really the most ideal church-going person because it was a different place. But definitely being here for the last 2 decades has made me believe in a lot of things which are true. And I can definitely say that most of what's been written in the, let's not talk about the Newer Testaments, but whatever's there in the Bible is pretty much the reality. So.
Well, thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
So, John, are you a flat earther? You say that the 15 of you have been following this flat earth movement and you contacted the Flat Earth Society.
Yes.
And you're using sort of the azimuthal equidistant projection on sort of the infinite plane model, sort of the more ice, more land model.
Right.
So are you a flat earther?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
In fact, the first time anyone steps on Antarctica, I think there's no question, there's no doubt left about what's being hidden. So definitely a flat earther.
So are we surrounded by ice then? Is that icon of yours accurate?
Yes, that is accurate, but it's not like I say, it's not either. I can use the word infinite. So there's definitely more resources, more land beyond it.
And how do you know that? Because you've been there, or know people who have been there, or how does that work?
Like I said, we've been experimenting. Yes, we've tried even Admiral Byrd's own experiments. We've gone through a lot of documents. There's a lot of stuff here which proves that there's definitely more land beyond.
Okay, you said that you needed a special vehicle or ship to get beyond the edge, beyond the boundary.
Yes.
And you say you've got that ship, is that right, or that vehicle?
Yes.
Does that not leave you open? I mean, there can't be too many of these vehicles available readily in the world today. Does that not sort of stick a big target on your back anyway? You got a big.
They can't penetrate it yet, though. They can't get through it yet, though. Correct?
That's correct.
Right.
So we've been, like I said, most of it has been experimental for at least the last 8 or 9 years, and somehow the power structure around the world is changing. I mean, you definitely know what's happening in America now, and what's happening is most of these ultra rich, the top 1% of the 1%, are now making demands that they want access. So this is where a lot of the development over the last 8 years has happened, and I'll definitely confirm it's not a very small fleet. And if you look at even this is public data, so these ships are being hidden, in plain sight as luxury vehicles. But if you look at the design, it's straight up a giveaway. It looks like a militarized. It looks like a heavily shielded ship, which is able to, turn itself into a submarine if it wants. So, and will take a huge crew, will run almost on limitless power. So there are clues all over the internet, but people are not seeing it.
Well, I saw the sort of CGI. They possibly CGI. They could have been real. I don't know. But the ships that you had in your 3-minute video,
right.
You saw futuristic Dart-looking, grey ships. Is that what you're talking about?
That's a real ship.
Right.
These are
Wow.
Yeah.
John, that brings me to a validity question in relation to that. Now, I was lucky enough a few years ago for my mate's 40th for him to rent a tiny little yacht for us to go out on the marina, get a bottle of free champagne, get pissed, be sick over the side, and come back. And that cost us 200 or 300 euros each. Money really, really well spent. And but comparison, what for what I rented and what else was in the marina, £1 million doesn't buy a rental of a boat that you're describing for much more than walking up to the deck and walking off the deck. And so that brings me to the question, why, in terms of your appeal, why is any financial input required to make this mission? And more importantly, unless you qualify that, are you going to continue the mission afterwards, even if you don't get anybody individualized or from a group amount of input to carry on?
Right. So yes, definitely. In fact, again, like I said, I'm open to such questions, and this is not the first time it's been asked. Why is there a need of any money? But the problem is, not everyone on board. Not on board, as in not the 14, but everyone else. And we are the top tier in this organization. So the others, they don't really want to be part of any change. And that's probably what you will see even around the world. The 99.9% of population is just really comfortable and happy with how things are. And most people, they think that such a change is not possible to bring, even if we do reveal all the information. So these guys, they want to be just happy with the money that they get. They're not seeing the big picture. And we've tried to do this. Originally, the cost was going much higher, but talking about this and then discussing which boards. Right.
I understand that point. So respectfully, I'd ask you to quantify it a little bit. So how many people are we talking about? Because if it was me, I'd want that money myself. And that would just be to drop the anchor. You know what I mean? What you're talking about appears to be a career, certainly a career-threatening venture, and if not a life-threatening venture. So again, the money you're talking about doesn't seem significant enough to fund such an operation.
Adam, can I latch on the back of you there a minute and just say
Jump
hi
on,
to
man.
Paul and hi to
Evening.
John? John, how do you know you can trust the 14 if money's involved? If they are, I've come in late, so I've missed who these guys are. But how do you know you can trust these guys if they're being paid? Why? And they're not interested in the truth. How do you know you can trust them?
Yeah. So again, to answer this, and like I said, this discussion has been going on for the last 18 or 19 months, even within ourselves, and the 14 that are with me, we're not taking a single buck out of this. Honestly, our plan is to be part of the reveal later on. Obviously, it might take 6-7 months, I don't know, after the information goes out, for the structures, the control structures around to collapse, for people to see. Obviously, we're expecting everything to go smoothly once we return, because what 1 million guarantees is to go and to come back. The payment is going to the operators of this vessel, and that's why I said originally we were thinking we could accommodate 50 people, but then considering that we will also have to orient these people, it's not like something you just walk up to and you see it and you're like, oh, okay, this is the truth, and you turn around and you come back. It's definitely not that. You will have to be oriented. You'll have to see if people are honestly mentally fit to take in the truth, and that's where most of the cost is, and of the supplies that we'll need.
I've got another question there in something you said, which is something that has concerned me, that you guarantee. And whilst I'm listening to, I understand how you can guarantee you might be able to get people there. The guarantee of return,
right,
is another thing. Now, are you guaranteeing people you'll get them back to shore and they might get shot when they land, or? Do you get my point?
Yeah.
What
yes.
This guarantee, could you clarify it?
Yes. In fact, I spoke to a very interesting individual, I think about 2 weeks ago. And this person was like, okay, I am on board if we are able to live stream and live betting on everything. And I was like, do you know what is at stake here? Because we cannot really reveal anything until we are back. And
was his name Matthew by any chance?
I will not reveal any names, but
power.
Yeah, it was safe to say I stopped communicating, because I'm saying, like, this guy wants to do live streaming and live betting, which means he's definitely not. Like I said, I've met some really funny people, or even in the flat Earth community, and so we definitely want to guarantee the safety. So even that will include anonymity, no names and nothing like that. We ourselves, within the organization, we ourselves have multiple passports, which we've gotten made, in case something does happen.
Can I bring us back to the descriptions a little bit for a second? Sorry. What can you tell us about the sun and the moon and the stars in our system here that we're dealing with? Can you tell us anything about what maybe some of the flat earthers believe? Like, is it in a dome? Is it enclosed? Are they operating in the system? Can you give us any sort of descriptions there, John?
So yeah, if I can put it lightly, it's we are part of an ecosystem, and like I said, the known boundary that we have, the edge, we do have, and this is quite accurate. So I've seen some of the diagrams.
Would this be close, John? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was looking for this map to ask you how accurate this might be, this map that got dropped into the Flat Earth community recently.
Yeah. This is what I was just going to talk about. So this is pretty accurate.
Nice. Nice.
Walt's just passed out, John. We'll just warn you now, right? Walt fell off
Dude,
his
that's
chair.
like my theory. I've been working on this for like almost 2 years. I love this is my infinite plane theory that I've been
That's why I asked about the sun
looking at.
alone, Walt. That was pretty
Right.
because I knew you were
sir.
dying.
Thank you. Yes, I've been holding back on this. I'll try to slow down. Y'all go.
Walt, have your moment. Tuck in, son. Tuck in.
Well, this is the whole thing that I've been looking at, because to me, the dome just seemed like another control mechanism to keep our minds contained, just like the globe is. So I found the Infinite, the World Beyond Poles book, which kind of opened up that idea, and then suddenly that map appeared. There's the 1,000-year-old map that's in the Hawaiian paper that shows the lands beyond the Arctic ring. So that's pretty much what I've been thinking it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of ties it into my 15, 25 years or so plus ET explorations that I did and research showing that there are definitely things amongst us that are not human, but if they're not from some infinite void, they have to be from outside that ring. So apparently they have the technology to come back and forth, I guess it would seem. Is that what you guys have experienced or what?
We've definitely seen, again, this is what we've learned not to use words which will basically.
I know it's hard to find the right words without triggering. I know.
Right. So definitely, there is a spiritual angle to this. So the spiritual is what we have known for thousands and thousands of years as humans. If you go back to all the way to the birth of the civilization, you'll see everyone basically knew everything that we are now debating on the internet. And it's surprising that all that knowledge was wiped out. But so one way to look at it is spiritually. So who do you, and this has been because we do have people from various faiths within the organization. So we've always been asking questions like, oh, do you want to think about aliens as gods or angels? And then back and forth. But yes, definitely there is intelligent life form outside of us, probably more advanced, which is expected because they are able to freely come and go as they wish.
Can I just ask there then, from a personal experience, but have you personally experienced something of what you just described?
Yes, at least two times personally.
And are you able to distinguish whether you would consider them extraterrestrial or extraplanar?
Because this is when right. So it's not extraterrestrial for sure, because these seem to be quite well adapted, to our atmosphere and everything. So it's not something like that comes here and then they're not able to move freely as they wish. But they definitely have very good knowledge about how to.
You're suggesting a different physiology there in your intonation. Is that right?
Yeah, it's definitely. Like for us to interact with that, because this happened when we were trying to experiment with some newer drones that we have, and I think that was just an indication from them to say like, okay, you're still not there yet, and maybe there are other forms. Like I said, we need to be maybe more spiritually connected to get the answers that we want. But as far as what I've seen is they're definitely not, they're not coming from space or, from other planets like how it's in the movies or everything.
Right. Now,
space enough.
You're talking there, John, and in terms of spiritually and stuff, and just not to be personal, do you have a personal belief? I believe in God. I don't necessarily follow any religion. I do believe Jesus is a template. That's my personal beliefs, kind of on surmised. Are you able to? Are you willing to surmise yours and suggest how that is distorted or affected or confirmed in any way?
All right. So from my own experiences, what I can tell you is, and like I said, we do have people from many faiths, even within our organization. Is what I've seen is what we do know, or what we do knew about gods, including the Norse gods, is actually quite realistic. Those are not stories. That's not mythology. Yeah, we could talk about one god if you're talking about the creator, but thinking that again, so the Bible has a different way of telling the stories. The Hindus have a different way of telling the stories. The tribes in Africa have a different way of telling the stories. So these are all correlated.
Can I dumb it down there? Are you basically describing Stargate, the TV series, as opposed to going to other planets, going to other ponds? Is that what you're suggesting there? That there are different realms controlled by other superior, a bit like the Anunnaki tales, as you suggest, Norse gods, and are you therefore discounting almost the Gnostic philosophy of religion? Or are you saying that overseats the more hierarchical, almost king-like structure, not god-like structure?
Definitely.
Is that summed up? Did I?
No, because I know, and again, being on the flat Earth, there are people who are trying to mount an expedition to the North Pole, the center, trying to find it. And I told them, I said, it's probably easier because the edge and the amount of gaps that we have within the information. The information holes. There are times when we know what is coming in and going through. It's easier here than to basically rely on a GPS and try to find the North Pole, because they will tell you are at the North Pole and you'll have to believe it. Versus when you're in Antarctica, you will know you are standing on ice.
Well, that leads to a good question in terms of magnetics then. Polarity. So how would you, what practical use is a compass? I suppose is a good starting question.
So, like I said, we are dealing with, especially when we are around the edge, most of these instruments are useless, and we believe it's the core. Or what's on the underside is defining most of these magnetic forces. So the compass.
So, can I ask a quick question there? Probably just
right.
Are you of the, well, what is your magnetic opinion then of the plane? Is it a central north with only a north? Is it a north
right.
with the circular south? Is it a north with multiple souths in terms of Atlantic anomalies and the likes? What is your understanding of the magnetic composition of the plane?
It's a central north. It can't be anything else.
Compass is only point north.
Yes.
Rob's been ripped off with his southern hemisphere compass. Yeah.
Yes, because it's we've been studying this. We've been experimenting with positive and negative electric fields here, and we see that most of it is always towards one. And even when we did the electromagnetic exercises, we've seen the compass is always pointing north. Now, there's technically no south.
Right. And this magnetic north pointing, is it a straight line or is it a toroidal arc?
It's a straight line.
It's a straight line. Okay.
Yes.
So, John, can I bring this back to, and I'm fascinated with what you're saying, by the way, as well.
I'm loving it. Thanks, John.
Yeah, can I bring it back to the expedition that you're planning on doing that later this year. Is that right? In November, some sort of time.
That's right. That's right.
And about the people that donate or that give or that pay the amount to get a place on the mission. They will remain anonymous. It's all hush hush. No one will know who they are. Can I just ask, what sort of traceability there will be? I mean, how will the public know what the outcome was, or how it got on, or whether these guys just got a tap in the back of the neck and never got seen again? And do you know what I mean?
Right. So this is what we've been, and this is what our goal is, and we're trying to find these kind of people who really want to change and be part of the change once they're back. We're looking at influential people from within the community. It could be church-going people. It could be people who are influential even within their business circle or something like that, who would want to be part of. And we have definitely come across quite a lot of people who are very active, very excited to find out what the truth is. But the goal remains is what to do with the information. This is why earlier I mentioned that we would rather not have all the information in hands of one person, because it could be used either way. We don't want new age saints to pop up and say, okay, now I've been to the edge and I know what it is, and I'm going to control people, because humans are gullible. And this is why we need, as far as I need at least help from the flat earth community to define how the information should be spread out.
Hey, John, James here. 2 quick questions.
Right, James.
First is, who do you, can you tell us, is it Yahweh that you follow? And second, what happens, in your own words, take all of us out of it, what happens the day after the reveal and people really find out? Tell us what you think is going to happen.
Yeah. So, yes, first, I do follow Yahweh very religiously. And
awesome.
Second is where most of it has been speculation and scenarios, but we definitely know that these structures, the so-called Illuminati is going to crumble down, because instantly there's going to be, people will know about, first of all, the lies that have been told for so many years, what NASA has cooked up with other so-called space exploration agencies around the world. And once that curtain comes down, then it's going to be a domino effect, because this will go to the highest levels. We're talking about presidents of countries, we're talking about military organizations starting, and people will start questioning. That's where the change comes in. So, like I said, and we definitely want to, really reveal that we've been kept, most of the population has been kept away from clean and free energy, which is accessible to everyone. We are made to rely on fossil fuels, at the cost of destroying our land and our ecosystem, so all that behavior will change. And even most of the illnesses, most of these doctored or, developed diseases will go away. So,
can I come in again, there, guys? James, you asked there, does John follow Yahweh? Again, I said I don't subscribe to a religion. What I did then say is, in your opinion, from what you've witnessed, and I'm not asking your personal beliefs, but in terms of what you witnessed is what I'm asking to quantify. I then said, does overreaching that, is there a much more Gnostic opinion that all of the gods, including Yahweh, including whatever, is still comes from an originator source? Not in terms of your religious beliefs, but in terms of what you say has been confirmed. Which is it? Is there a creator individual? What could you elaborate? There's no point in me trying to put my spin on.
Yeah. So like I'll tell you what I understand from my experience is the creator is individual. It's a single entity, which multiple different spiritual groups around the world, in their own language or whatever, have defined that single entity. That's why you look at those similarities will be everywhere if you dig down deeper into now what we call as mythology. So that is there, but definitely, how people are interpreting it and what the reality is slightly different, and that's why I said that maybe most of the answers are in the spiritual realm, and that's why we need to.
I've got one quick question for James, not for James to ask, but on James's behalf, which is you clearly don't have a Western accent. It sounds Southern Asian.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, sounds a little American as well, education as well, but I'm not sure about that. But within that, you would assume that your upbringing isn't Christian, yet you describe your belief of God as Yahweh as opposed to anything else, which is probably more prevalent. Is that a change, or is that an enlightenment from what you saw, or is that, could you? Or is that just you brought up in a Catholic school in Delhi?
No, we come from a Christian family, and my dad did marry an Indian, and so most of my school life we've been traveling around the world, and that's one of the reasons why my accents can change and different, but. This is stuck to it, and now people say this is the neutral accent, and definitely.
My wife's the same. Her dad's got the broadish Scottish accent, and mum's got the broadish kind of North Yorkshire accent, and she sounds with no accent. And now she starts to sound a bit like me. And she won't say soldier; she'll say soldier, like I do. Right. So, do you know what I mean? You adopt where you are, don't you? If you've she's
exactly.
Mate, so yeah.
John, can I just pop in with one last question?
Sure.
For anyone who's interested, say they're interested in donating, or they're even interested in putting up the $100,000 to be on a place. What can, in those two scenarios, someone who's putting up $1,000 or whatever to back the cause, and someone who's putting up $100,000 to go on the expedition, what can both of those people expect after that? Are they going to get an email? Or do they then get a schedule? Is everything revealed?
Yes.
Okay, so what's to stop? I mean, anyone who wants to stop you basically now just has to give you $100,000. They'll get an email, and then they take you out.
No, we will basically do all the background checks that are needed, because we were quite sure that someone will be like, okay, here's $100,000. It doesn't really cost these guys anything to bring this down. Luckily, we are within, right now. Although we've been talking about this plan for a long time, but I think it's only in the last one and a half year that the flat earth movement has really blown up. So we are actually, you could say we are covertly running it through. And if you see, we've not really been public about it. I've avoided posting openly on Facebook groups because I knew anyone there are a lot of people watching, and that's what we want to avoid. So we will definitely be doing background checks.
So you came
So
down.
what-
Somebody's watching.
So what will they expect then? Someone who's donating 1,000 and someone who's donating 100,000. What should they expect? What sort of pack?
For $1,000, and this is, in fact, I'm like probably like a just new kid on the block, because I did not know. I had to learn how these crowdfunding campaigns work, what people expect. But thinking about what the flat earth community, what really matters to them is truth. Is some sort of truth that they can hold on to and say, this is it. These are not NASA doctored images and videos or animations. So this is what we're expecting for at least the ones who contribute $1,000 and above, is we'll give them some sort of proof. And
John,
might be,
John,
yes.
On that, right, mate? You said, you talk about, you don't want an individual coming back as a demigod, this, that, and the other. Realistically, of all the people that I could think worthy of coming back with that sort of knowledge, none of them would have the bus fare to get to the airport. Never mind the possibility of being able to afford the ticket. So, in terms of your selection process, I can think of lots of worthy people I would trust to listen when they came back, from this place. Do you know what I mean? To do, frankly, none of them would be the people that can afford $100,000 ticket. And how are you reconciling that in your own head? Because you're clearly an intelligent man. Have you worked, you and the others worked through that kind of conundrum there? That
so this is where this is why we are reaching out to people like you and others who are who we really see as the serious flat earthers, the ones who really want to change and not just post memes day in and day out and handle trolls, because there's definitely more to be done after we come back. And this is what we are thinking, that if we are somehow able to reach close or even reach the goal of $1 million without having a single person who's probably been the largest contributor, that we will choose from within the community activists who are the voice of the flat earth community, and I'll tell you right away.
That's a good question, isn't it?
I'll tell you right. Tell you right away, it's not going to be someone who's being ridiculed in public media, because I want to personally see how they respond. And it's so easy nowadays to term a human as a lunatic or something just because of what they believe in. So we definitely want someone who's level-headed, and I'm sure we can find 10 people like that.
John, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are you looking for skilled people and skills with any certain type of skills?
I wouldn't use the word skills, because that depends a lot on what people believe they're educated in. We're just expecting people who are passionate about speaking about the truth and just not using the information for any sort of private gain. I guess that.
I can kind of understand that, yeah.
Right.
So being constructive then, because I've been quite not destructive, I think objective I've tried to be, hopefully, John, and I've not been. I hope that's how you've received it. Being constructive then, given the unlikeliness of a number of philanthropists coming out of the woodwork, the most likely scenario for you to reach this goal is by multiple donations.
Right.
Okay. And given that then, and the subsequent clamour that's going to occur after that, what are your possible suggestions, other than putting on a Willy Wonka outfit, what are you going to do in terms of dealing with that?
That's how I think again that's pretty much in the gray area when it comes to what is going to happen. And like I said, we would rather have the community help us.
I'm a stubborn git, and I think of a million objections, but I also think of a million solutions. And
Right.
To me, mate, what you've got to get is credibility.
Right.
Okay, and
right.
turning up tonight is a great one, and I think we all on Friday's show we said, it was a diminishment of your credibility that you didn't turn up, and we've got
Yes.
reasons for that and so on. But
Yes.
It's now about moving it forward for me. Now, to me, the next big credible thing that needs doing and is that any funds raised are held in a secure account. And to prove that to people, that if you're asking people who can't necessarily even afford, like I say, the bus fare to the airport, right? You're asking them to contribute. How are you going to reassure them that not necessarily that they'll get the money back, that if the mission goes tits up, that the money goes somewhere other than to your condo in Miami, which, has to be a concern that you're aware you have to approach.
Yes, like I said, when we started this out, we knew it. It asking any kind of money will bring up these questions. If tomorrow, and imagine if I said we do this for $100,000, we would still be asked the same questions. It's just not about the value, but the way that we know is, and this is why we originally went with Bitcoin, is because when people are donating through any sort of crowdfunding campaign, there are chances of those funds not even reaching us. Forget about it. If there's anyone who flags it, that's why if you see the way I have worded the campaign, is I've refrained from using any words which will trigger these systems and say, okay, we need to shut this campaign down. And we went with Bitcoin because in any possibility that this mission does not go through or does not meet its funding goal, we definitely want the money to be sent back to whoever.
Right, so if I'm doing an international deal sometimes, right, and on stuff, and there's a fair bit of money involved, and the parties don't necessarily trust each other, then what you use an intermediary. Yeah, and that's and again, I'm not being destructive. I'm talking about ways in which you can give a surety for people to donate, to know that it ain't just a pipe dream. Because I think we all said before, this is like one of the flat earthers bucket list items, and it is fantastical in what you're suggesting, and we're all excited by the prospect of it, myself included. But to continue to be excited and not just log off tonight and carry on.
I think you've got a good point, Adam, because we've seen
what more can we do
over the last couple of weeks or so. We've seen, SpaceX and Virgin Galactic and everything. We've seen the breakdown on Virgin Galactic's history, which has basically been offering spectacular trips since 1999, I think it is. They were set up in 2004. They were taking £200,000, ticket deposits from, and they named numerous famous people, all this sort of stuff. But in that situation, we can go to a forum or whatever, or the feedback forum, and we can see people commenting and saying, well, this is rubbish. I didn't get, nothing happened, and I didn't get my money back, and they've stopped responding to emails, and I look up their business details, and they don't exist anymore. And I think this is what Adam and I am asking is, what sort of guarantees has any donor got? You must have sort of thought this through, and like you say, you know that people are going to ask this sort of question with this amount of money. That's my question.
Right. Right. So we were. This was another thing is we somehow, if we are not able to reach the funding goal or run into some problems this year, we definitely want to aim for next year. We will not, as least as the 49ers have decided, we're not going to abandon this campaign no matter what. And that's one of the reasons is we are not disheartened, with the initial response, the cold shoulder that we got from the Flat Earth organization, two of them, TFES, as they like to call. And we've been, going at it. It's like, okay, no, we are going to find the people who really want to be part of this. And we want to help put this thing together. If not this year, at least next year. But then again, I said next year we will have to do it in any ways because there are chances of this thing being entirely shut down, even access to Antarctica being totally shut down.
Yeah, I mean, approaching obviously, this has only been around for a couple of years, and no one can blame you. But approaching the Flat Earth Society is sort of tantamount to approaching, cancer research with a cancer cure. They're not interested. That's going to destroy their whole business. But still, it's an awful lot of money. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I jump in again? And that,
yeah.
Again, I'm not being a shitbag. I know I'm sounding it, John, but again, it comes back to actually my first question, and you alluded to there. I'm going to do it. We'll try and do it next year. And my first question is, why can you tell us a bit, but you can't tell us everything? But you can only take a bit. But you can take people on a boat trip to show them, and it comes back to what you just said there, which is, how is it the powers that be? You just said there's 110 of you and 14 of you are mutineers, for want of a better phrase. Yeah. How are you giving any assurance that this time next year you won't be dead? Or and this was the point we were just alluding to before you joined us and came on air, is there is the consequence that the powers that be clearly know you're already here. Yeah, you're already making this statement. Is there a level of white dragons, whatever phrase you want to use, that's allowing this to go ahead? Because the silliness to believe that we can evade things such as the Antarctic Treaty, forces it. I think even you may convince other people that you can, but I struggle to believe, certainly without any great detailed further evidence, even if you have got a nice yacht. And I think that's the credibility for me. Why haven't you been bumped off yet? And how the hell would you not have been bumped off next year if what you're going to unveil is really important, unless it does want to be unveiled realistically? Sorry for the long
No, that's a very, again, like I said, that's a very good one. We've basically gone through all these possibilities, and that's one of the reasons why we did not really, especially me, I did not talk anything specific. I'm not giving anything really specific out there which can be used to pinpoint who this person is. And like I said, there's, thanks to the community and the explosion that has happened on the social networks, we are able to blend in and talk about it. We know, like, even when in fact last time I wanted to be on with you guys, and that's when we were publicly tweeting and I was hacked. I was able to trace it to just another person who was listening in on the conversation on Twitter. Just happens to be a person who is not really happy that his views and everything has been challenged, his beliefs. So that's what we learned. And for the last 18 months, I'll tell you something. We've done a sort of a dry run. We've done an experiment where we wanted to see if this sort of expedition would be possible. Would someone notice apart from the people involved? And we were able to do it successfully. Although there was no real person on board, but we did,
The audio seems to have come on.
Or is that John? What happened?
Nothing to do with me.
Oh, well, sorry, people. We seem to be having technical difficulties there while Josh gets that looked at. If you guys have any questions about the amazing information you've been listening to, just let us know.
Absolutely.
You haven't listened to this before, have you, Walt?
Oh, is that where it cuts off?
Yeah, it cuts off for a little bit.
I didn't finish it to the end, no.
I think it was his mic that dropped. It's paused.
Well, this might be a good time for a break then. Because I was like in the middle and suddenly it went away. I'm like, because this is past where I have listened. So I was definitely eagerly listening to hear it again. This is my first complete listen through since the interview. I had actually listened to it, the beginning part, as we made the promo, James and I, last night. So, yeah, amazing stuff to hear it all again. Quite mind-blowing, quite a lot to take in. As I say, guys in the chat, any questions or points to clarify with us? We really have no more messages. Information than what we have here with the interview, but definitely we'll gladly expound upon anything we can figure out with this information. As it's been quite a week. It's definitely had all our minds just racing and looking at all these models we've been working with over the last couple of years. Just some amazing things, some amazing stuff.
Shout out to Tate in the chat.
So did you want to break? We are pretty much right at the hour mark on that interview.
We certainly can. That's fine with me. It's up to you guys. Totally. I just was caught unawares, expecting to hear more, and it quit. So,
threw me off a little too. Shoot, I don't know. There's maybe 20
minutes,
30 minutes. Yeah, something like that.
We can leave them hanging and make sure they stay tuned through the musical break here. We're not going anywhere. It's up to you guys. I'll be muted regardless, so it's completely your call, sir. I'll leave you in control of it.
I say we go ahead, do our weekly gravity break, even though people get sick of that song. I don't care.
I love it. That's fine with me. I will mute and shut up and listen to the jam, sir.
All right, then I'll just
guys,
do the
thanks
audio.
for listening.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us, tuning in. We've actually been relatively issue-free thus far this week. That's pretty good, especially for us. So yeah, we'll take a little break. It's like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, something like that. And we'll be back to finish up the interview with John Bramha and his journey to the edge.
We're up pretty high, our heads are almost in the clouds, and their feet are chained to the ground with their chains of misery. They've got a hold of me, they won't let go of me. Let go of me. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential You defy gravity. They can be cruel and mean, and a smile can be the sign they're missing out on their rainy day. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential to fly. Don't let them be what holds you back from this one incredible chance. They're lucky to have had a glance at you. Are you defy gravity? They say we aren't strong enough, we don't have what it takes. I say yeah, they're wrong enough, and we'll show them someday. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential to fly. Oh yeah, don't let them be what holds you back from this one incredible chance. They're lucky to have had a glance at you. Are you defy gravity? You defy gravity. You defy gravity. Yeah, yeah. At you. Are you defy gravity?
Ah, gravity. That's what we're doing. We're defying gravity, defying the ballers, defying the heliocentric model. You're listening to Iron Realm Media. It's another Flat Earth Friday. Thanks for joining us. We are in the midst of an interview with John Bramha that we recorded earlier this week. John is attempting to organize a party to the South Pole through the edge, he says. So, with that, we're just going to pick right back up with the interview.
Not aware of every ship leaving every port and where it's headed. So we definitely know a way of tracking it. Obviously, if it's a small boat or something, it's a fisherman who's carrying or who's just gone a little bit off course. There are ways we can, sometimes they do slip through the control zone, and there will be, a late reaction or something like that, and the people will be like, okay, nothing is perfect. It's definitely not perfect.
To John, you just said there may be a time where they encounter you and they tell you to turn back, but that's all. So can you elaborate on that? So, okay, so you're heading off on the mission and you encounter one of these things. What do you do? Do you just jog off some of the direction and pretend, oh yeah, we're off, sorry about that, and then sneak back later on? Or
well, hold on, Adam.
Ignore them and just carry on, and they ignore you. I'm confused by the.
Hold on, Adam. Can I ask, John? Have you heard of Jarl Anderhoy from Norway?
I've heard the stories. Yes.
What happened in his case then? Because his boat was sunk apparently, and 3 people were killed.
It actually seems like he ran into bad weather, to be very honest, because, like I said, we are not allowed. The use of force is not allowed unless it's a big violation of the treaty. It's like a ship of the size of an oil tanker sailing towards the Antarctic. There's no one who's going to take any sort of a military action against anyone. And as far as it comes down to our mission, our ships specifically are allowed to pass through. And most of the international radar stations will not even detect the ship. So
your ships are specifically allowed to pass through.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right.
That implies a
are they
level of
still going to
international
be allowed to
shipping.
pass? Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, that implies a level of international shipping there, John, not Savage. John. Yeah, you said that they let you pass through. Now, from what we're understood, and maybe you need to add a bit of clarity again here for us, we're understood you'll be forced to turn back. Now, you're saying they'll let you pass through. Is that them thinking you're letting you pass through to your oblivion, or are they letting you pass through to some other control zone or area of monitoring? What's the can you qualify the statement you're making when you say let them pass through?
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is the vessel that we're using is we are specifically, like you can say, we are the flagship of the control structure itself. So we are allowed to have as many trips as possible. And there will be at least a 5-tier check for anyone else trying to do it. So even if you manage to slip through the first 2, there are 3 other tiers which are far more strict, and it's all done electronically to basically stop anyone else.
You mentioned that people going at the north, Mount Meru area, might have an easier chance. Does that mean there are multiple entry points to the limit or the borders, what you call it, or the edge?
There are not multiple. I can definitely tell you there are two places which are probably the easiest, and there have been attempts, but like I said, again, it's for a common person, even a person who has experience of sailing, it will be close to impossible to get through the checks.
But I mean, does that mean that the same thing is at the North Pole that you're attempting to break through at the Antarctic?
Yes.
Now, why there as opposed to the North? More eyebrows, more difficulty? Why did you choose the outer ring?
The North is more difficult. I'll definitely tell you that. There's a much more bigger army presence. There far more countries are involved. There's a lot of internal politics we don't want to get involved in. It's easy to get through the edge, like I said.
On that note, John, are you talking internationally? What are you aligned to any particular country? Or I'm not asking you to stay if you are, but are you aligned to a particular country?
No.
Do you work for North Korea? That's the question.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, I get you. I get your question. No, definitely not. This is basically, I can tell you, this is an international organization. There is not a single country. Yes, there are a few countries who have more influence than the other ones, who have more to do with what they're controlling. Probably the other country. Yeah.
Would your badge be very useful also as a map? Your organizations?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
John, can I ask a question? In the North, what are they protecting? Why is there more protection for the North?
It's like I said, I've personally not been there, so I cannot really elaborate on that. But it's definitely from what we've heard within our own circles, is that it is some sort of a gateway that they're protecting.
Okay. Cool.
John, I really appreciate your coming on here and making it.
this.
Is there any message you want for any potential investors or people who are interested? Is there any extra information for those of our propensity to be able to contact you and get a brochure or something along those lines?
Pretty much. I think we've pretty much told whatever there is to say, and I do have that blog up, which is I don't know. I mean, it's definitely getting a lot of hits from what I see in the statistics. But if someone is interested, I think that should be step one to get in touch, or anyone else.
Would you be happy to come back on?
Definitely.
John, look, John. Look, mate. I'm not a skeptic. I am objective in every opinion, everything I look at. Do you know what I mean? And all I can say to you is, mate, I'm happy, and I think the rest of the guys should be, to kind of help this along. There are certain things that I would suggest are necessary to increase your credibility, but if we can help you, dude, you certainly need you need an additional platform. Do you know what I mean? And and I think that needs to spread.
What he's trying to say, I think, is we are six heads as opposed to one corruptible guy, who all come from different backgrounds, and even in our own group here, we have different beliefs. Although we all, are brothers, but we're, in a sense, we do. What makes us unique is our differences. So, I think we would be happy to be a conduit for you in future and work with you in terms of what you want released. Like, do you want this interview out there now? Do you want to come back? What's your plan? Type stuff.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off, Adam. Was that kind of what you were thinking?
I think that was a much more succinct way of saying what I meant.
Yeah, and even
now, if you can just hear your
Adam,
vibrations.
Thank you for getting me on, and it's good to know there are people who are seriously pushing this. Like I said, what I've come across, even from within the community, is disheartening, and there needs to be more people like you. I would say honestly, who are fighting for the cause and look at it objectively, because that's, I think, the best way. Keep your mind open as much as possible, because the amount of information that we're going to reveal, that's what we will need. That's the kind of people we'll need, because it's gonna destroy a lot of old controls around us. It's gonna change everything, and what we are working on is really big, and probably change the future.
Can I just ask another one? I can see we're winding up. I've got one quick observational question. The sun's, obviously you alluded to being a flat plane. The sun's orbit, circular or elliptical?
It's elliptical.
Thank fuck for that. Thank you, John. Cheers, man.
No problem.
Can I say,
Well, John,
can I just
go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Walt has some questions.
say to John?
Ratio? No, just no. They're ratio. Any ratio you could possibly throw my way.
Sorry, can I just say to John, I just want to say thank you. We've all done our things in our own way. John with his gyro, everybody with their truth. And if we were in the position John's in, we would have set this in place without doubt. So somebody's got to give him some faith and some backing, and I hope, and passed him on to the critical thinkers, and just grateful to everyone here for listening to John and giving him a chance. And thanks, John, for being there for us to give you a chance.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Honestly, like I said, I was thank you for this, and always up for a nice debate. And I think you guys were really nice. That's not really anything, because I think it takes one person, one believer, to see another believer, and that's what I think we have going here.
Got to start somewhere.
Right.
Thanks for that, Karen. I completely agree.
Well, we've got to learn to trust again, haven't we? We've had it totally betrayed, and we've got to learn to trust again. It's a part of our natural and we've got to learn.
Flat earthers are not renowned for their trust, faith, or belief in anyone. So, although we've given you a little bit of a hard time, John, but we're digging down. We're trying to get to the bones of this. I, for one, hope to hell that this thing happens and is genuine. Yes. I'd love to have you back on again and get updates and progress on this sort of thing. I'm personally honoured that you gave us the time. I hope you come back and we can explore this indefinitely.
Hey,
you're going to find, John, there's just maybe 2 or 3, maybe less than a handful of reputable kind of weekly programs out there like ours that have a bunch of different people. So it should be clear.
On another note, John, it's been a pleasure, mate, and it'd be nice without the interrogation and to just chat with you on a level sometimes. It's been a real pleasure, mate. I mean, outside of the job that was being done tonight, and I hope you understand, it was done for a purpose to further a cause, that hopefully you are genuine, and any comment you've had is supportive of any genuine cause. And genuinely, I come away from tonight with a real positive feeling, and I hope we can help you take it forward, mate.
Definitely.
All right. I second that.
Hey, John, what are the chances you could actually come in on a Friday show? I know you were a little put off last time, and probably rightfully so, but if you've got your proxies and everything locked down tight and everything running through the way it should be, what are the chances you might be up for doing a show with us live on Friday?
Friday, I'll let you guys know because it's something I have to be really sure about this time. So just give me a couple of days, and I'll let you know.
Again, no pressure. Even if we could come on and do this again, let us digest some of this stuff, because I got to tell you, this went so much better than I could have ever hoped. So it's going to take me a little bit to wrap my head around exactly what just happened here. So if we could even just come on and do this again, so we could hash out, and I'm sure we'll come up with some more questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How deep do those subs need to go again?
Just leave it.
And on that note, I'd say we wrap that up. Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Thank you so much,
John.
John, it's been a pleasure. It really has, mate.
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Good luck.
Well, there we go.
Brilliant.
That was our interview with John Bramha, the man trying to organize an expedition through the edge. That was some pretty serious right there. That was crazy.
You muted us all.
Am I here alone?
That was very good.
No. No, just
very good.
I hear an echo.
You muted us all. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I think we're all just recovering again from hearing it for the second run through fully. It's still, I heard things I didn't even catch the first time because I was so overwhelmed by some of the information. So yeah, just
fourth run through here. Well, I'm still hearing stuff I didn't hear
second and a half. How about that? Right.
I just don't know how to take it. I have no idea how to even approach this.
Yeah, I wish I had a better idea too. I really liked what Karen had to say about our trust having been violated, and we need to learn how to do it again. He's asking for $1 million. So any sort of promotion that I would do for John Bramha in his journey would be on the pretense that everybody is doing their own investigation and using their own discernment and making that own free will choice whether or not to donate. So yeah, it may not necessarily be an endorsement, an encouragement to give the man money, but I definitely support what is theoretically his cause.
And it's a dangerous trip.
Would anyone here at this moment give money at this point with the assurances we've been given so far? I know I wouldn't.
If I had $1 million, I would probably get a COD for $100,000. I would probably get the ball rolling just to see how far I could take it.
Yeah, if I had $1 billion, I might put $100,000 in for a punt. Absolutely. Who knows? But
that's
I don't.
Exactly right.
So.
If you've got 100,000 to spend, if you've got 100,000 spare, you do it. But you're not spending your last 100,000 on this. It's too risky for me, and you might not come back. Who knows?
I think there's a question, if I was a person that did the lottery every week, who was also a flat earther. I am a flat earther, but I'm not a person that does the lottery. If I did, and a quid worth, a pound or $1 or a whatever was worth spending each month or week, maybe I'd spend it that week on that instead of pissing it away on something else. It'd be the only point I would say. If I had money to waste, maybe I'd put it there instead of on a lottery ticket, because it's probably more likely. But
you do seem to have some amount of money to piss away, though, Adam.
I said if I spent £1 a week on a lottery.
No, but I mean, you've got a piss away budget, haven't you? You've got a budget every month that you're like, I could piss that away.
Big. That's no
a
bollocks,
couple of £100
right?
maybe, or £100 or whatever.
Right, exactly. Right. And
not £100,000.
I work my arse. Yeah, but frankly, that's my point. I'm saying, and this is the point I'm saying. Not justifying my expenditure, which my wife questions more than adequately enough. Thank you very much. Right. But the point I'm making is, if I had £1 a week I wasted, okay, on the lottery, I'll put £1 on the lottery, right? And I was a flat earther, maybe that week I might put it on John Bramha.
No,
do you know what I mean? And I think the reality of what he's asking for is that, rather than, is there anyone out there with $100,000? Do you know what I mean? Because that's like silly money for any, as I alluded to, anyone with that money. I don't give it trust in the slightest about their opinion of what they're going to see. Because if you've got that money, you can be bought and paid for.
It sort of sounds to me as though he's currently working. He's currently, I would say, near the top of the, circumference enforcement group or whatever, 120 of them. And they have ships and they have all this sort of thing that can get through certain control zones and all that sort of thing. And what he seems to be proposing, or as far as I can work out at the moment, is that the 10 crew are going to be sort of stowaways and hidden in the bowels of a ship that regularly passes in and out of said boundary. And that I can go along with, absolutely, if that was, but to guarantee your safety there, back, and this sort of thing, is I don't know.
We are not live, by the way.
We should be back up and running live now. For some reason, OBS just stopped broadcasting.
Okay,
I'm live.
I don't know if there's a timer set or something, but
I'll tell you what I would do, guys. I like what Karen said, or it was either John or one of you guys, the other day about, trusting someone. So within our communities and even within our groups as individuals, we have someone that we would nominate. And that's something I would pitch to. Like if I knew that, say, Kai or Adam or me or Walt or whoever we nominated, if we vetted them and we knew them, I would be willing, if there was some level of security, to sponsor that, because we would know. It would be a lot more comforting than just donating to this guy and this cause. As I understand it, my interpretation of what we just heard, besides loving it and being shocked again, I think he works on one of the headships for the UN that controls the outer control region. He told us there are 5 zones. People can slip through maybe 1, 2. You will be caught. You will be sent back, not by force, but by threat of force or authority. Pay the money. You're going to get some kind of footage if you go in with a lower donation. And obviously at the higher tier, you get to step foot and actually see what's been hidden. So that's how I would contribute. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Sounds about right to me. I mean, that's kind of the structure I got from what he said. Believe me, if I was financially able and physically sound enough in my present body, yeah, I would be there in a heartbeat. I mean, this is what I've dreamed of forever, is finding out what the hell is going on around here. So, you know, this is kind of like that golden ticket. John mentioned him putting on the Willy Wonka suit. I thought that was quite apropos. So, yeah, I would be there in a heartbeat. But, you know, there's lots of things between me and that happening. But
I actually got my heart broken too, Walt, on that. I we forget in our heads what our bodies are, hey?
Right.
I was running around screaming today thinking about, oh man, imagine if there was like a lottery and you could win a ticket or a seat, and I got to go, and then my good lady, man, I love her. She keeps me grounded. She goes, "You idiot. I love you, but you're an idiot. You wouldn't even make the security fitness test that John was talking about that you have to qualify for. You got one leg, you hobble around. What are you going to do?" And I was just like, oh. And that was when Ralph's heart broke.
Yeah, there you go. These bodies, oh well.
But I want to nominate somebody, you know, because this is the way to do it. This is how we trust somebody.
In these bodies, for sure. So definitely make this thing a thing. I mean, as you said, a group. I mean, we have a community certainly greater than us 6 here. Our people that are watching with us, the people that are always here every week, the people that are out there on Twitter with us all the time. I mean, the people that we don't even know that are in the community, you know, that we don't know personally. I mean, there's a lot of potential here. And I mean, I know we talked about it, glanced over it a few times in the interview, and we definitely want to talk about those types of things again. The idea that, you know, someone with a lot of money that can just pop their way in, and John assuring us that those people would be vetted and that kind of thing, hopefully avoided. You know, us having a ringer on the gig, that would be nice. They would definitely be nice.
Well, it reminds me, it brings me back to a tweet I got a couple of weeks ago with a breakdown of the demographic of America from 16 to 65, and they were saying that between the ages of 16 to 65, I mean, these polls, so, you know, take them for what they're worth, but they're saying 1 in 4 people didn't believe that they lived on a spinning ball. So from this, he sort of extrapolated that there were basically 45 million people in America alone that didn't think they lived on a spinning ball, and that sort of made me think about the claims that, you know, we're just a couple of thousand people, you know, these flat earthers, whatever, just a couple of thousand idiots in their mama's basement, typing crap. But I think they're playing that down, to be perfectly honest. I think the flat earth community is massive. It has nothing to do with economic status. You can have blue ticks or people on the street following you. It doesn't really matter. It's a state of mind more than a state of education, for sure. And there's a reason for that.
Indeed, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, the people that have woken up to this reality, it really spans an amazing demographic of people. From young to old, from rich to poor, from many letters behind their name,
race, colors, creeds, doctors, engineers.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, I wanted to say, though, there's an issue we need to address, and it's something quite big. They are starting to label us. They are starting to label us as a cult. They are also starting to label this as a sickness, flat earthers. What do we do to kind of combat that? And how do you guys feel about that? Have you heard this latest stuff? Now we're a cult. We're religious fanatics. They're separating flat earthers from geocentrics. There's shills in the mix, spreading lies. How do...
When I first got into this, I heard the word cult was being spread around. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's been day one for me. I've heard that, that this is a cult, that we're all being brainwashed by these crazy YouTube videos.
Now people like Joe Rogan, who have, tons of millions of views and followers, are hearing those trigger words. Trigger words are very important.
They're using them for sure.
As those who are paying attention learned, trigger words in the MSN are everything.
But 9/11 was a cult as well. Remember when 9/11 came out? And I'm sure back in the Kennedy conspiracy that anyone that said anything was in a cult. It's the same sort of label. It's like anti-Semite. So it's an easy label to put on someone who, that's it. It's a label. Who gives a shit about labels? You don't know me. You don't know Rob. You don't know Adam, Walt, anyone. I mean, you can't label us.
Well, it's not a label, it's a statement of observation.
But I think a lot of labels start out like that.
No, well, I think we kind of epitomise the point. It is a statement of observation because we don't believe the same things. None of us do. Do you know what I mean? So flat Earth is a statement of observation.
That's it. The way we all sometimes get grouped into religious overtones. Now, trust me, I've come to a greater understanding of the Creator's place in this whole thing. But by no means am I a religious person or follow a doctrine by any means. And that always gets thrown at us that we are, that's what brought us here, that we were all, quote, Bible thumpers, if you will. And that's very, again, trying to put something in a box so you can go, oh, that's all that is, and move on with your daily grind and your daily TV and your daily sports or whatever keeps you distracted. And it's in a comfortable little corner of your mind. You don't have to actually think about it anymore. You put it in a comfortable place and you can just move on with what you know is right or what you've been told is correct.
That's right. To categorize and pigeonhole anyone that disagrees with heliocentrism is a classic. I mean, it's a classic move, really, to pigeonhole someone and to burn them as a witch. I mean, it's just classic crap we've had through history over and over and over again. It's time for people to stop, think, and start thinking for themselves. What the hell is going on here?
Yep. Look with their eyes for real. Rub the shit. Rub the MSM. Rub the programming off their eyes. Let the weights, let the iron shackles fall from their eyes, and really, really take a look at what's going on. Remember what we said yesterday. Of all the economic power companies in the world, only one company makes this secret part of a thing that doesn't even exist for all of the airplanes in the world. Give me a break. There's 100 of those waiting to be found.
And it has
Just
to,
like John
happens
said,
to be a
let's wake
NASA.
up.
It happens to be a NASA contractor too. Yeah, funny that.
Nothing to see here.
Guys, that brings us back to a level of cynicism. I don't know about you. I've got a number of. That's the first time I've listened to that since we recorded it. I've got a number of bits and bobs. Not necessarily make me doubt stuff, but there are points I noted down that I just want to raise, and that was firstly, twice at the beginning, and certainly in the first 20 minutes, the importance of Bitcoin was raised twice as a funding method, which has its benefits and merits, both in donating and scamming money out of people. And I don't know what your thoughts were on that in terms of the preferred nomination of donations being from Bitcoin.
I don't know enough about Bitcoin to really give you an informed opinion. What I know of it is basically what I see pass through my Twitter feed and what I've heard you guys say in our conversations. I know it is supposedly secure in some manners, in some people's opinion, and in other people's opinion, it is, a joke. So, both in its security and in its actual, use. But from what I understand, it's value over time has risen crazily. And again, I don't know the details, so I don't want to be the one to try to give you an opinion on it. I just know that it rose a little hackle for me, a little question, like, that's unusual. But I don't know. Maybe someone out there that knows more about it in the chat, or someone here in our room might know more about it than I. James, do you have a history of knowing something about it?
Yeah, he actually apparently was running it through crowdfunding. And again, he was sort of attacked right away. And much like he had to go through several proxies and, reset his settings, I think that he does offer PayPal as well right now. And he felt in the safety and anonymity of Bitcoin that was the best way to move forward. It kind of seems like for 18 to 20 months of planning, like you mentioned, that he would have thought more of the social and actual planning and execution of the campaign. But that also leads me to believe some of his credibility, because it is something like that somebody far out that is involved in a program and, is good at that segment and is trained in that way, they would have gaps in these areas. So it's a little of both for me.
Well, it'd be kind of like us trying to figure our way through this thing as we've learned how to present live shows and do editing and things here on the Iron Realm. I mean, if it's not your...
what I got from it was that he didn't have definitive answers for everything. He had channels to go down and this sort of thing when he was asked certain questions. What would you get if you donated 1,000? What would you get if you donated 100,000 or whatever? And what I, after probably a third or fourth listen now, I'm hearing from it is an appeal to the flat Earth community, or to call it the flat Earth community, that he's after feedback as to how to do this. So the Askew account that Adam was talking about is absolutely spot on. I think Bitcoin as well is probably absolutely the way forward. It's
John,
anonymous.
you mentioned a visibility that would allow donators to see that in escrow in real time and see if you could give that visibility to a campaign. I mean, you've got something there. if people can follow along.
Something he just hasn't figured out how to implement yet. I mean, if he's really doing this himself, kind of like we're trying to figure out websites, etc. I mean, it could just be an app he hasn't found yet for whatever platform. You know, I'm just trying to be the benefit here, but also on the other hand, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I would oppose that point, mate, severely.
Go ahead, because I was about to.
Twice. Yeah, twice I raised to him the validity of raising the money and giving it trust, i.e. putting in a place that made it safe. Well, I was going to say to him, you know, whether that made a refund or it went to a charity afterwards, it didn't really matter. But he never addressed it, and twice in the interview I raised it, and that was
I gotta
significant
say, Adam,
to me.
I was under the understanding that he had said that he would do everything in his power to get the funds back to the appropriate people if the trip was cancelled or something. Yeah, sorry, man.
Also,
Sorry
him not raising it is not him saying that he wouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I'm just saying, twice I raised it.
I agree.
I'm only making points. Yeah. And twice it wasn't answered in a manner that clearly gives anybody clarity. It's the only.
I mean, I don't know. Does an SQ account or an escrow account or whatever the hell they call it in Bitcoin, does that leave a traceability trail behind you, an electronic traceability trail to you, so that you know your identity as the holder of the account is made public? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I think Bitcoin is probably the right way to go forward.
Well, my introduction to the scandalous side of Bitcoin, unfortunately, and I almost hate to bring this up, was early on in my flat Earth research. I, like many people, found Mr. Dubé's work, and that led me to the IFERS site, at which point I began to find probably 20 plus pages of people just going to town on Jaron, allegedly being part of some Bitcoin scam on some guy sometime before this, and then leading to the fact that Dubé donated money to the balloon thing that fell through, etc., or maybe the laser or something. But anyway, the whole point was they traced it back to Jaron's original name, original this, original that. He defended it by saying he was trying to help this guy recover the Bitcoins he lost. So I got from that it is very traceable, that whoever found all this out on IFERS and put it out there made a big stink about it, got him banned. It was a big mess. It really got me to not even want to be around that site. So that was my introduction to what its scandalous side could be. So apparently traceability is one of its key components.
Well, that's interesting for something that's sort of advertised as untraceable, which is quite interesting. And I don't doubt it for a minute, Walt. You know, if you do anything online, you are traceable, full stop. There is no two ways about it. But yeah, that's hilarious for something that claims to be untraceable.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because whoever found it apparently found it. So, but again, I don't know the details. I'm not that.
I'd like to see the primary source on that for sure. Definitely. Especially where Jaron is concerned. I've been following Jaron for, I don't know, probably 2 years now.
Oh yeah, me too. Pretty much day one.
Speaking to him as well, and you know, nothing has come. I mean, I've listened to numerous other personalities, and as far as I'm concerned, nothing has stuck its head out in any particular way with Jaron. But you know, I know other people disagree with that, and that's their personal opinion. That's fine. I'm yet to see any proof.
That's a good, brings it back to one of my news points I didn't get to mention, John, in terms of Jaron's stuff, which is the Awake Souls versus Jaronism slug match regarding the French Mountain silhouette, for want of a better phrase, I suppose. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah, but the viewers might not have. So give us a rundown.
I can explain it. Basically, it's another slug match, isn't it? It's like last week. But so on one side, we've got Jaron announcing in his video with regards to a sunset, which is affected twice a year by mountains that are 150 miles away, and apparently twice a year. This is a well-known event in the region. You can see the silhouette of the mountains 150 miles away as the sun sets at the bottom of the sun. And Jaron's put this out as you know, as another statement of evidence, and has been challenged by a gentleman, Awake Souls. I forget the guy's name. Can somebody help me? We had him on here.
Jason, I think.
I haven't seen it. Was it? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, Jason. Thanks, John. So Jason's come back, and his retort is, I don't know. It's very strange. This is clearly a P900, and you can clearly see clouds in front of and behind the sun, which is something I have major objection to in terms of this simulation theory. And that seems to be his major objection, but there's been a bit of spark again. You know, the basic retort, John, is, instead of answering Jaron's point, is to call him a fake and a fraud, and it's something that you've kind of suffered this week, isn't it? Instead of people dealing with the facts, they go, hey, you follow this, you follow that.
Well, it's called a homonym, but Walt,
yeah,
you've got information on sun shadows behind the sun, or sorry, clouds behind the sun. Or I'm indifferent about this. I'm not.
It kind of is what got me, really convinced on what, well, not on what, but on definitely that the sun is no way 93 million miles away. I mean, I took a picture in July of 2016. Now, this was, 2014. This was before I had any clue about weather. This was This was just a picture I took. Because when I stepped out of the car, we'd already seen it on the road and taken a picture of this cloud formation. But when I got out of the car and really looked up at it, it was an overwhelming feeling. It really felt like, okay, is that a mushroom cloud? Has a bomb been dropped? I mean, I've never seen anything like this. And it was lit up, and that's what really frightened me, was the glow of this thing. And it was approaching sunset, but the sun hadn't reached the horizon yet. And then slowly it dawned on me that it was somehow maybe the sun lightened this cloud up, even though maybe it was sunset. And again, this was before Flat Earth, so I was just trying to figure this out, what I was seeing. But I have 3 different people caught this on film, 3 different directions, 3 different places in this town. They all saw it and freaked out on it just like I did. And it is literally the sun being wrapped 360 degrees in clouds. You can see it casting a shadow behind it to the horizon line. And it's like, okay, that just doesn't make sense at all. And now that I look back on it, that picture from Flat Earth perspective, there it is. Now, when we start looking at the sun with some of the new stuff we've uncovered over the last year, with the lensing effect of the atmosphere, and with apparent sun versus real sun, and the fact that we don't even know what the hell the sun even is, is it a cymatic thing? Is it an energy thing? Is it electromagnetic? We're still scrambling around trying to figure this stuff out. But definitely, I have multiple videos and pictures of sun interacting with clouds in ways that is not possible in any 93 million mile floating ball in space model in any way. And the moon as well. I've got pictures of it with clouds interacting, floating in it, touching it, behind it. And I've used many filters and many different ways of, changing the photography, the levels of light, the ISO settings, and there's no trickery of light. I can tell what's eliminated and what's not. I have years of art and photography of there's definitely interplay going on. I haven't seen the video you're talking about, but I don't.
Kind of reminds me of just how little we know about those two things and how misleading the organizations that we're supposed to trust are about those and luminaries or whatever we want to call them. I do love that Adam's got something to sink his teeth into now with the elliptical, so it's going to be very exciting now that we have some questions.
I never realized how excited I got when he responded to that. That was funny.
Well, we all did to our
little trigger factors, and that was interesting, wasn't it?
Also, is yes, sir. Another little Has he been paying attention to us and just feeding what we wanted to hear? Because I mean, we have to look at this thing from all angles.
That would be
it's possible that he's somebody that's been in our Twitter rooms and has figured out what to say and how to make the carrot on the end of that stick very enticing, and because he rang a bell for just about everybody in this chat,
except for one.
Well, yeah.
Why is that?
I'm not sure.
John?
What?
Tell us.
Tell us what?
So we were he hit everybody's buttons, right? John Bramha.
Not everyone's. He didn't hit Josh's. He didn't.
He did. He hit Josh's flat Earth question. Rob wasn't there.
No.
But he didn't hit yours. Why is that?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, let's say, okay, so Adam asked him about the orbit of the sun, whether it was elliptical or not, and he said elliptical. I mean, he literally said elliptical, bang, straight off. There was no hesitation. You were asked about whether it's a straight line to the North Pole or a toroidal field. Bang, straight off, straight line.
I asked about the Blue Anubis map. He said yes right away. I mean, he was on top of his stuff. That's kind of why it was almost too good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But he didn't have anything that got to you. That's why I thought it was odd that you were kind of impenetrable to his charm.
I don't know whether he didn't have anything that got to me. No, I think he probably. What did I say? Is there an ice wall around the outside of Earth? And he said, "Yep." And can you get through it? Yep. And I don't know. I mean, it's such a story at the moment. I don't know. I need some, these photos that we're seeing on the video. Are they taken by him, or are they
I've been searching.
authentic?
I've been looking.
Or these ships, I mean, did I miss the ship's conversation, or was that cut out?
No, we were there.
Yeah. And what did you guys think about the ETs? Like his actual, I missed it again. I've heard it now 4 times.
Well, they weren't ETs, were they?
No, but what I thought was so cool was that Adam figured out that there was a biological difference, that they were more relatable to us. That was so cool. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, man.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, I thought that was. I was being a bit. The way he was talking was strange, wasn't it? So I was trying to ask questions that didn't mean, oh, the aliens. You know what I mean? They were clearly different. I think there was a million more questions the more I listened to it for the second time that I want to ask now as I listen to what I did ask. You know what I mean? So I was.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Yeah. I've got more questions now than I had before. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Again, like Gareth said, we gotta go back to trusting, and we did. I'm proud too. I'm sorry that I made it negative a bit after Adam, but on the positive, and I think you were going there, and then we got sidetracked again. there's a lot of good that's come out of this. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of study. There's a lot of research to be done. There's a lot more talking. There's a lot more planning. This is fantastic stuff.
It is. It's brilliant. I mean, it really is brilliant. But in terms of going back to trusting again, I can't. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I need.
But you did. I mean, you trusted him enough to come on and ask serious questions, and you're gonna trust him to come back and hear more. So I mean, just in a general sense, we have to open up, just like we did when we got busted into Flat Earth, or busted into the Boston Marathon like Rob, or shattered our NASA dreams like Walt, or just kind of clicked around like Josh and I, and just fell into this through other research. So you gotta go back to being the cup a little empty so you can fill it up more.
James, that's the point, isn't it? It's about evidence and evaluating evidence, and he's provided a lot of really good evidence. We've got a million more questions. Do you know what I mean? It's the only thing I would say, and I think people would need to have.
Right.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I don't want to give
man, that interview, I was holding the reins tight because there was a million more I could have thrown his way for sure. Well,
I'll tell you what I've got.
So we've been going on for about 3 hours now. You guys about ready to head into the after show Fringe cast?
We certainly can. It has been a very... The time
guys, brothers.
Yes, sir.
It has been amazing.
Yes, sir.
I hope it comes across to everyone else the way it came across to us. I hope it at least inspires a little bit of excitement and a little bit of spark that imagination again, and maybe reignite some flat earthers who've grown a little stagnant in their research and in their studies. Hopefully this will be some reinvigorating stuff, I'd like to think.
Yep, get out there, vet this for us as well. Get out there and dig into this. Make sure, as we are trying as well to do, that it isn't a scam, that it is legit, that we are talking to someone who is who they claim to be. I mean, we all can do this as well as anyone else in this community. So you guys know what to do out there. He sounds genuine. It felt genuine. But again, we all have to go at this with a discernment and an eye of care.
Absolutely. Exciting stuff regardless. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And again, I just got to say, man, proud of you guys, proud of the way it went down. Happy to share the info. You heard it here first.
You definitely did. You heard it here first.
Yeah. I would say, and add to that, thanks to Karen. A real big shout out to Karen for, believing and then communicating to us. Yeah.
Bless her.
Yep. KN 22.
Don't even attempt
22. But yeah.
After 10.
22. She's around us. If you look at our followers, she's in our Twitter feed. She's around. We love you, Karen. Thank you so much.
Fringe.
Yeah, we'll need to add her to our show notes, to our description. Get her contact info on there too, as an honorary member.
Indeed, and some of the new software that we hope to be more reliable with, she can actually join as a panelist, as well as some of our regular hosts in the chat room, and some of our loyal people that are here with us every week.
Absolutely.
They can actually come in and take an active role. So we've got lots of exciting stuff coming up, lots of hope moving forward for Iron Realm folks. Stick around. Always a pleasure sharing our stuff with you.
So if anybody wants to come in and talk with us, put your hand up, yell at us, call us names, let us know. If you guys want to start tweeting out the link on Twitter, we can, we'd be more than happy to let some people pop in, say hi, shoot the shit, so to speak.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Right.
10, 9, 8.
Yeah, that's too long. I'm not going to wait for that shit. That music was just for you, Walt.
Bravo.
That was so great.
That was amazing, brother.
To all the Misties in the crowd. That was amazing, brother.
You are full of surprises, and I am loving it.
I love it.
Finally, he hits it.
I've been good this whole week, this whole show. I've not hit that soundboard once this episode, so thanks.
I'm so proud of you, dude. You did awesome.
I was genius though. That the theme brought a smile to my face and heart. That was awesome.
I'm Neil the
The rest of you out there, just Google Torgo. That's all I'm going to say. And enjoy. Oh my God.
Torgo and MST3K.
For sure. Have you checked out the new ones? Oh, you have. You told me. That's right. You finally got into them.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't too impressed.
Oh man, I find it a very worthy predecessor. Or whatever. Johnny Come Lately. Whatever you want to call them, they're good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a different creature, but it's fun.
Maybe you needed more flowers. Flowers tend to help.
I was pretty miserable when I watched it. Yeah, I was having to, those fringy nights.
Go back and check it out again for sure.
Right. Speaking of which, there's a series that I've always wanted to get Josh to watch, and I thought it's worthy to mention it because a lot of the storylines in the show are kind of things that have come up in the real world. If anybody has seen the show Fringe, they'll know what I'm talking about. Have any of you guys, besides Josh, seen it? Adam, John, Walt?
I think I just missed it completely. I didn't. I've just been off of TV. I killed my TV years back. No cable, so I'm always playing catch up on things like that. And it's one I never went back to revisit. So I definitely want to, especially since we all are hanging out here on the Fringe.
I mean, it's got isolation, different worlds, portals, CERN.
Oh yeah, you're not the first one that's recommended it to me.
Oh yeah.
I want to see it. It's just there's so much to do and what we're doing, and when I do have TV, it's very selective for sure. I will check it out with your recommendation, certainly.
Since you remind me of Walter Bishop, anyways,
I remember you telling me. I have to see it.
He's actually a bit of you and Adam now, and John. He's all of us actually in the lab there. To be honest, he is.
Yeah, I'd make the statement I don't watch TV unless I am waiting for the new series of Tits and Dragons. But I don't watch TV.
I've heard of that show. I actually didn't get hooked on it.
Yeah, I tried. I really did. I don't know. It just didn't bite for me either. I tried.
Weeks to go, boys. I think there's... I don't watch hardly any TV. I watch MasterChef. I watch a bit of football, and other than that, like I say, what's it? I don't know what it's properly called.
Iron Chef. I'll tell you the original Iron Chef in Japanese, man, is probably one of the greatest feats of television history, with Hirosaki Sakai and Iron Chef Japan and like all those guys. That is a bloody art and a pleasure to watch. I highly recommend it.
Nice. I'll have to go back and check it. But I'm a big Gordon fan for sure, and I'm right there with you on that. I like that show.
He's a great role model.
Before we get off beat too fringy, I've got one criticism or contradiction that I've noticed in the playback. It might not be a contradiction, but it's just something I wanted to mention. When I earlier talked at the beginning with regards to Admiral Byrd and his ability to get through the edge, one of the phrase that he chose to stick to, he alluded to the reason it being more primitive. And then I said, do you mean mechanical, not electronic? And then a lot later on, he mentions the point about when we were talking about border passing and the first level and the second level, and it goes on, and then it becomes, and he says, it becomes electronic from then on. And that seems contradictory if the point where electronics really start to fail is around the border.
I may be able to help. I was wondering the same thing, and I kind of wrote it off to the remote controlled. Have you seen the Israeli remote controlled drones, the boat drones that are unmanned but are actually controlled? Would radio signals be affected?
No. That's what I'm saying. He said, my first point was that the reason Admiral Byrd got through, but modern jets wouldn't, is because it disables electronic equipment. And then the second point he makes is, past the UN gunship scare authorities, when they pass through the other layer, there is electronic control of their passing through the stuff, through the passageways.
He didn't say the distance. He didn't say how far the 5 check zones are. And what I heard him say was that because of Admiral Byrd's lack of technology, it was how they believe he got through.
He got lucky. Is the first out of his mouth. He got lucky. That's exactly what he did. You know, James and I kind of postulate, or I guess maybe just theorize.
But I saw the contradiction, and I was thinking it was I was thinking it was remote control, like those high tech boats and drones.
That about drones, like
exactly.
Only allowed certain, because I play with drones. I've become a drone fanatic over the last couple of years. So the limitations, and the fact that he said that they limited that for a reason to do with this, to be able to get there and see what we could see. Apparently, it's pretty visible at a certain distance from it, or height to it, or I don't know how. He even said that too, that up and down. Remember?
That's why I threw the sub nugget in the bottom, because I think it's down. I think Hollow Earth does exist, but it's just a passage to get to the other side.
What I wanted to talk to him about was my whole layers theory, the glass onion, if you will, that this whole thing is layers, with the lake on the bottom of the ocean, with us in our little bubble, and whatever space is, and another little layer, and another layer out there, different layers of stars, and just layers, man. That's what it all is, layers.
Kind of like our new little red and blue layers.
Layers. Exactly.
It sure is, brother. Take the pills. Take the plunge.
He did allude to that as well, Walt, when I talked to him about magnetics. When you heard his description,
under
it was a layer.
Under the something. He said it. Underside or no?
Yeah.
What's the word? But yeah, I noticed it too tonight. I saw, that's
the core. He was talking about the core underneath the plane was the source of the electromagnetic disturbances, and maybe causing part of the restrictance of the boundaries.
Yeah.
But then he also said that governments are well aware and use electromagnetic weapons and technology to shoot down planes and other things, which was very interesting as well.
Storms.
After storm, after storm, after storm, he says.
Yeah, lots of nuggets again. I'm going to have to listen to this broadcast again later to see what I missed as a third go round.
At the very least, it's caused me to do research again. That has caused me to find something amazing for next week's show.
Yes.
It has caused us all to start feeling that shot in our blood and feeling good.
Early days.
So be it.
Yep.
Let's get at her.
Let's do it. Get her done.
Yeah. But let's take our time. Proper right. We got the smarts. We got the brains. We got the personalities. Let's make it happen. And hopefully we can break it to everybody.
Yep.
Love to get an Iron Realm flag on that ship that breaks it, the story, hey? Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be simply amazing, sir.
Or at least a great big decal across the side.
Oh, yeah. The Iron Breaker. The Iron Realm Icebreaker. Oh, man. This is getting good.
I won't raise any eyebrows at the checkpoints, I'm sure.
At the UN, no, the white hats will just be like, oh yeah, they're taking those ultra rich. It's they got Elon Musk and it's Richard Garriott and all the rich guys in there for a tour.
Who died? Chris Cornell. He's probably in there this week too. Yeah.
Yeah, they all just get the tube, shoot them under the ice pond, and boom, they wake up in Happy Land. We get to see the dinos and the fallen Nephilium hybrids that will eat their faces off.
That's the point, James. If you have all these right, so say you got the trip right, and on the boat there's Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and a bunch of other rich laden. And they come back and they tell you that there's pink dinosaurs. Whatever they tell you, would you believe a word of it? That's
Not
my
from
other
them.
thing. No. So who is going to come back and be able to convince the masses? Not you, not me, but convince the masses of what you've shown.
It would have to be somebody believable. It would have to feel right. It would have to taste right, sound right. It would have to hold up under high scrutiny. It would have to even hold under the heavy weight of your questions, good sir.
That's a tall order.
That is indeed.
And that I find strange with the £100,000 a ticket. But I don't want people coming back demigod statement. That I
think Josh is right. And Rob, I think it's an underestimate. That stuff's really, really expensive. And the fact it does irritate me, and it really must irritate the 15 guys or that. How many are in the 15 or 18 of them? That 14. All the other people involved are like, screw you. You shouldn't be doing this. We'll do it, but you better pay us. And that's it. And we're not involved. We want nothing to do with it, but we'll take the money because you're an idiot. You should never reveal this stuff. Just let it go on.
Well, the way I understand it, the $1 million is basically to pay for the boats and the crew and everything. They're not taking the money. The $1 million is just what's financing the actual trip.
Plus, it's a payoff, though. He clearly said it's to pay off the people who want nothing to do with it because they are just interested in the money side of it.